Okay, we are recording. Meeting will now come to order. This is the quarterly legislative meeting of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. May 22nd, 2014. If we could, we'll offer an invocation at this time. Nui Madmo, I'm going to pray. Mama goes down at Kawab Mishnach Jaya. Grandfather God, watch over everyone. Shuan Mishnach, Minedokam Mishnach, have pity on us, think peacefully of us. Migrechi Minguyak, Odi Minomi Badzwin. We thank you for giving us this good life. Help us to work together today. We are asking for wisdom and a good heart. Thank you for everything you have created. Jesus. Thank you for giving us your son, Jesus. Amen. We could go to roll call. Secretary Treasurer Trousdale.
Chairman Barrett.
Shoda.
Vice Chairman Capps.
Shoda.
Secretary Treasurer Trousdale. Shoda. Representative Slavin.
Shoda.
Representative Eva Marie Carney.
Shoda.
Representative Whistler.
Shoda.
Representative Bersall.
Shoda.
Representative Lambert.
Shoda.
Representative Payne.
Shoda.
Representative Johnson.
Shoda.
Representative Dave Carney.
Shoda.
Representative Wesselhoff is absent. Representative Kraft.
Shoda.
Representative Schmidlkoffer.
Shoda.
Representative Bowden is absent. Representative Barrett.
Shoda.
14 present. 2 absent.
14 present, 2 absent. If we could hear the minutes from the previous meeting on March 6th, 2014 and April 11th, 2014.
Quarterly legislative meeting, March 6, 2014. Present, Chairman Barrett, Vice Chairman Capps, Representative Barrett, Bersall, Bowden, Dave Carney, Eva Marie Carney, Johnson, Kraft, Lambert, Payne, Schmidlkoffer, Slavin, Wesselhoff, and Whistler. Secretary Treasurer Trousdale was absent. Attendees, Chris Abel, Greg Quinlan, Jason Greenwald, B.J. Trousdale, Trey Trousdale, Yana Harjo, Ashley Murdoch, Jaden Haney, and Jamie Mocha. Chairman Barrett called the meeting to order at 5:35 p.m. and gave the opening prayer. First item of business, minutes from previous legislative meeting held on January 16, 2014. Motion to approve the minutes as read was made by Representative Kraft, seconded by Representative Bersall. 15 in favor, 1 absent. Second item of business, Resolution 14-40-E, D, and C, a resolution approving the Citizen Potawatomi Nation's Industrial Park Infrastructure application for continued funding through the United States Department of Commerce Economic Development Administration. Motion to approve Resolution 14-40-E, D, and C was made by Representative Wesselhoff, seconded by Representative Kraft. 15 in favor, 1 absent. Third item of business, Resolution 14-41-E, D, a resolution authorizing the Citizen Potawatomi Nation's proposed Child Care Development Center building application for funding through the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development under fiscal year 2014 Indian Community Development Block Grant Program. Motion to approve Resolution 14-41-E, D was made by Representative Dave Carney and seconded by Representative Payne. 15 in favor, 1 absent. Fourth item of business, Resolution 14-42-NR, a resolution approving the Citizen Potawatomi Nation's funding request to enter into a cooperative agreement with the United States Department of the Interior for the land buyback program for fiscal year 2014. Motion to approve Resolution 14-42-NR was made by Representative Eva Marie Carney, seconded by Representative Lambert. 15 in favor, 1 absent. Fifth item of business, Resolution 14-43-J&PS, a resolution confirming the nominees for Tribal Judicial Office subsequent to confirmation by the General Counsel. Motion to approve amend Resolution 14-43-J&PS was made by Representative Wesselhoff and seconded by Representative Barrett. Motion passed 15 in favor, 1 absent. Motion to approve Resolution 14-43-J&PS as read was made by Representative Johnson, seconded by Representative Bersall. Motion passed 15 in favor, 1 absent. Sixth item of business, Resolution 14-44-JNPS, a resolution approving and supporting the Citizen Potawatomi Nations grant application for funding under the Department of Justice fiscal year 2014 Coordinated Tribal Assistance Solicitation to continue development of comprehensive approaches to public safety and criminal justice. Motion to approve Resolution 14-44-JNPS was made by Representative Barrett, seconded by Representative Bowden, 15 in favor, 1 absent. Seventh item of business, Resolution 14-45-JNPS, a resolution approving the Citizen Potawatomi Nations grant application for funding under the fiscal year 2014 U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. Motion to approve Resolution 14-45-JNPS was made by Representative Bowden, seconded by Representative Dave Carney, 15 in favor, 1 absent. Eighth item of business, Resolution 14-46-HHS, resolution supporting an increase in funding for the Citizen Potawatomi Nation Sanitation Facilities Construction Program, Public Law 86-121, for scattered existing homes offered through the United States Indian Health Service. Motion to approve Resolution 14-46-HHS was made by Representative Johnson, seconded by Representative Payne. Motion passed, 15 in favor, 1 absent. Ninth item of business, Resolution 14-47-HHS, a resolution supporting an increase in the funding for the Citizen Potawatomi Nation Sanitation Facilities Construction Program, Public Law 86-121, for the City of Tecumseh Water Treatment Plant renovation offered through the United States Indian Health Service. Motion to approve Resolution 14-47-HHS was made by Representative Kraft and seconded by Representative Barrett. 15 in favor, 1 absent. 10th item of business, Resolution 14-48-LCOE, a resolution enrolling 168 applicants into the membership of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. Motion to approve Resolution 14-48-LCOE was made by Representative Whistler, seconded by Representative Lambert. Motion passed, 15 in favor, 1 absent. 11th item of business, Resolution 14-49-HHS, resolution authorizing the submission of a grant proposal entitled Citizen Potawatomi Residential Storm Shelter Program to the American Red Cross Disaster Services Long-Term Recovery Grant Program. Motion to approve Resolution 14-49-HHS made by Representative Bowden, seconded by Representative Wesselhoff. Motion passed, 15 in favor, 1 absent. At that time, Representative Bowden and Lambert had to leave the meeting, recessed at 7:30 p.m. to go into executive session, reconvened at 9:20 p.m. 12th item of business is adjournment. There being no further business before the legislature, motion to adjourn was made by Representative Smith-Golfer, seconded by Representative Barrett. Motion passed, 13 in favor, 3 absent. Meeting was adjourned at 9:25 p.m.
Are there any additions, corrections, or discussion? Chair would entertain a motion to approve the minutes as read. Motion made by Representative Payne, second by Representative Bursaw. Roll call, please.
Chairman Barrett.
Koenig.
Vice Chairman Capps.
Koenig.
Secretary Treasurer Trousdale. Koenig. Representative Slavin.
Koenig.
Representative Eva Marie Carney.
Koenig.
Representative Whistler.
Koenig.
Representative Bursaw.
Conagay.
Representative Lambert.
Koenig.
Representative Payne.
Koenig.
Representative Johnson.
Conagay.
Representative Dave Carney.
Conagay.
Representative Kraft. Representative Smith-Golfer.
Hold on a second. Let me get the... I got the wrong set. There we go. There we go.
Representative Barrett.
Koenig.
14 in favor, 2 absent.
14 in favor, 2 absent. It is approved. Next is the minutes of April 11, 2014.
Special legislative meeting, April 11th, 2014. Present Chairman Barrett, Vice Chairman Capps, Secretary Treasurer Trousdale, Representatives Barrett, Bursaw, Bowden, Dave Carney, Eva Marie Carney, Johnson, Kraft, Lambert, Payne, Smith-Golfer, Slavin, Wesselhoff, Whistler. None were absent. Chairman Barrett called the meeting to order at 10:30 a.m., gave the opening prayer. First item of business, Resolution 14-50-APP, a resolution approving a 2014-2015 annual budget of $713,000 from the estimated earnings and interest on program money from judgment funds awarded by the United States Court of Claims, subject to approval by the General Counsel pursuant to Article 5, Section 3 of the Constitution of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. Motion to approve Resolution 14-50-APP was made by Vice Chairman Capps, seconded by Representative Schmittlehofer. Motion passed 16 in favor, 0 opposed. Second item of business, adjournment. There being no further business before the legislature, motion to adjourn was made by Representative Schmittlehofer, seconded by Representative Wesselhoff. Motion passed 16 in favor, 0 opposed. Meeting was adjourned at 5:25 p.m.
Are there any additions, deletions, discussion, or correction? Representative Eva Marie Carney?
So Chairman Barrett, maybe I'm just getting old and I don't remember this, but my recollection of this was that this was a meeting that was done by email. And so I'm not quite, is this
I
how
think
we
it
do
was-
our minutes when
I think it was a
we've done an email
teleconference.
meeting?
It was email, that's correct. But we have to minute it.
Okay, but I guess, and why would we say that it started at 10 and adjourned at 5:25?
I'll let Vice Chairman Capps answer that one.
The email's out, and
I think the emails went out at that time and were collected
Okay.
at that time. It's a start and
Okay.
finish. If you would prefer to go to record that it was an email meeting, we can do that as well. We have
I
always
don't know
we have
that I
always
have preference if this,
yeah, we've always
Yeah,
noted
I'm sorry.
our in the past, we've always noted our special meetings with minutes. The start and begin times were the times when the emails went out. The ending time was when the conversation was over.
well, that sounds fine to me. I don't have a preference. I really just had no real recollection of how this happened, so I wanted to ask the question. Thank you.
that's odd. It was your idea, Eva.
Well, that's even worse. I really am getting old then.
Okay, let me get back to the main screen and Representative Whistler. Representative Whistler.
Yes, Chairman, I was going to say, for the sake of consistency, this is the way we've been doing it since I've been a legislator for about the last, 6 years or so. Not to be critical of Representative Carney, but I think this is what we've been doing all along. So I think they're fine, personally.
Any other discussion? Chair would entertain a motion to approve the minutes as read. Motion made by Representative Barrett, second. Representative Lambert, roll call, please.
Chairman Barrett,
Koenig,
Vice Chairman Capps, Secretary Treasurer Trousdale, Conagay, Representative Slavin, Representative Eva Marie Carney.
hold on a second.
Sorry about that.
There we go. There we go.
Representative Eva Marie Carney,
Koenig,
Representative Whistler,
Conagay?
Representative Bursaw,
Conagay.
Representative Lambert,
Koenig,
Representative Payne,
Conagay.
Representative Johnson,
Conagay.
Representative Dave Carney,
Conagay.
Representative Kraft, Representative Middlecoffer, Representative Barrett. 14 in favor, 2 absent.
14 in favor, 2 absent. It is approved. Next item on the agenda is Resolution 1451 TCNA.
Resolution 14-51-TCNA, a resolution authorizing the Citizen Potawatomi Nation's application for funding under the fiscal year 2014 Tribal Historic Preservation Office Grant Program. Whereas the Citizen Potawatomi Nation is a federally organized tribe of American Indians with constitutional authority under the Act of June 18, 1934, and the Oklahoma Indian Welfare Act of June 26, 1936, and whereas the Citizen Potawatomi Nation has sovereign powers that are inherent in tribal tradition derived from a history of organized self-government since time immemorial, and recognized by treaties with the United States and in the Constitution of the United States. And whereas Article 4, Section 3 of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation Constitution provides for a separation of powers of tribal government by the reservation and delegation of specific powers to other entities of the tribal government, and except for these specific limitations, all other general powers of government are embodied in the legislature's authority to enact legislation, transact business, and otherwise speak and act on behalf of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation in all matters on which the nation is empowered to act now or in the future. And whereas the National Park Service has allocated fiscal year 2014 funds for the development and operation of tribal historic preservation offices under the provisions of the National Historic Preservation Act, and whereas the Citizen Potawatomi Nation first authorized drafting and submission of an application to the National Park Service for Tribal Historic Preservation Office status via Resolution 03-129, and whereas the Citizen Potawatomi Nation signed an agreement with the National Park Service on July 25, 2007 to assume historic preservation duties on tribal lands that were previously the responsibility of the state, and whereas this will be the 7th year for implementation of the Tribal Historic Preservation Office, whose duties include Section 106 review and compliance, survey and inventory of tribal lands, and public education of historic preservation. Now therefore be it resolved by the legislation of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation that a resolution authorizing and supporting the nation's application for funding under the fiscal year 2014 Tribal Historic Preservation Office grant is hereby approved. Now therefore be it further resolved that by act of this resolution and consistent with the separation of powers defined in the Constitution, if awarded, an appropriation of federal funds up to $52,908 from the Tribal Historic Preservation Office Fund for the implementation, negotiation, operation, enforcement, procurement, settlement, and or completion of this contract, compact, regulation, or agreement by the tribal chairman or his delegate is hereby authorized.
Is there any additions, deletions, or discussion? I'm having a little camera trouble. There we go. Chair would entertain a motion to approve the resolution as read. Motion made by Representative Johnson, second by Representative Bursall. Roll call, please.
Chairman Barrett,
Koenig,
Vice Chairman Capps,
Konigay.
Secretary Treasurer Trousdale, Koenig, Representative Slavin, Representative Eva Marie Carney,
Konigay?
Representative Whistler,
Konigay.
Representative Bursall,
Konigay.
Representative Lambert,
Konigay.
Representative Payne,
Konigay.
Representative Johnson,
Konigay.
Representative Dave Carney,
Konigay.
Representative Kraft,
Konigay.
Representative Smiddlecoffer,
Konigay.
Representative Barrett.
Konigay.
14 in favor, 2 absent.
14 in favor, 2 absent. It is approved. Next item on the agenda, Resolution 1452 ED. If you could read that into the record, please.
Resolution 14-52-ED, a resolution approving the Citizen Potawatomi Nation's center-based voucher and after-school program Child Care Services application for funding under the fiscal year 2015 Child Care Development Fund offered through the United States Department of Health and Human Services through the Bureau of Indian Affairs 477 program. First three, whereas, same as read in the previous resolution. The fourth, whereas, there exists a continuing need to provide center-based voucher and after-school program child care services for Native American children under the age of 13, as evidenced by the child count of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation tribal service area being approximately 19,172. And whereas the Citizen Potawatomi Nation tribal service area encompasses the children whose parents reside or work within the boundaries of the declared tribal service area, being defined as Potawatomi County, Cleveland County, Oklahoma County, and areas adjacent to the 8 Potawatomi District offices. And whereas the Department of Health and Human Services, through the Bureau of Indian Affairs 477 program, provides grants for the ongoing support of center-based voucher and after-school program child care services estimated to be $2,793,888 as provided by the CCDF daycare funds. And whereas the center-based voucher and after-school program will provide Native American families with quality daycare facilities in which to leave their children. Now therefore be it resolved by the legislature of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation that a resolution authorizing the Citizen Potawatomi Nation center-based voucher and after-school program child care services application for funding under the fiscal year 2015 Child Care Development Funds is hereby approved. Now therefore be it further resolved by act of this resolution and consistent with the separation of powers defined in the Constitution, if awarded, an appropriation of $2,793,888 from the CCDF daycare funds fiscal year 2015 or other applicable accounts for the implementation, negotiation, operation, enforcement, procurement, settlement, and or completion of this contract, compact, regulation, or agreement by the tribal chairman or his designate is hereby authorized.
Are there any additions, deletions, corrections, or discussion? Representative Eva Marie Carney and then Representative Kraft.
Thank you, Chairman. So my question relates to whether or not these vouchers are going to be available throughout the country, because I see in the whereas that we're including children who are around the 8 district offices, and the funding looks significant, although childcare is expensive. So I'm interested in the scope of this.
Pull your mic closer if you would. Hold on. Okay.
These vouchers actually are for children whose parents are of low income, and this is an ongoing program that we've had. We do this each year. We used to do it also with the state of Oklahoma, and we discontinued that. So these vouchers are for low income families for child care.
She asked if it was in her district.
Oh, in your district. I think that we have.
Well, in all the districts.
It does not, it will not go to your districts. I think that they have probably included those districts just to say that our tribal government represents those districts. But no, that money will not go to your districts.
Are there any other, I can't believe it. There we go. I still can't
That's okay,
get
thank you. I had the same question.
There we go.
Vice Chair,
Yes.
where does it go here in Oklahoma then? Just to the, our
It goes to-
boundaries or to
Yes.
the whole state?
No, it doesn't go to
Just
the
still-
whole thing.
it's
It's
still
just
with the-
here at our Child Development Center.
Okay, are there any other questions or discussion? Chair, Representative Bursall?
Well, then I recommend we amend that paragraph. I mean, you know, because it talks about the children whose parents reside or work within and the areas adjacent to the 8 Potawatomi district offices. That should be deleted from there, if it doesn't apply.
I'm sure that they did. That they have included that to get our numbers up because we are competing with absentee Shawnee. However, if the money does not go to those areas, we certainly don't want to be misleading in that. So I'm sorry, I'm just now looking at this myself as far as this particular paragraph goes. And if we need to reword it, we certainly can do that.
What has happened under 477 is the absentee Shawnee got control of what was called Central Tribes of the Shawnee area, the old multi-tribal organization. And they got funded for an after-school program as if it were intertribal. And we have not been successful in getting the Department of Housing and Urban Development or the Department of Health and Human Services to stop treating this as a multi-tribal jurisdiction. So we use our entire population to justify our grant application, even though the site in which we provide the service is located in Shawnee, Oklahoma.
I do a synopsis of my resolutions that come through my committees, which is Health and Human Services and Natural Resources. And so I did not do a synopsis of this, therefore I did not Is this one of the new ones, Jamie? I mean, it's not one that you added tonight, no. Yes, it's the same. This money is recurring each year, and it's, as I say, is for low-income children to pay for their daycare.
And this is the identical resolution we passed
Yeah.
in previous
This
years.
is the same,
They have some
basically
use-
the
use
same
all the way to the
resolution,
north.
but,
To get their number up. That's what we're
Would
competing
it be
against.
prohibited to include the district?
No. The absentee Shawnees include the jurisdiction all the way to Norman, in fact, city of
What
Norman.
I'm saying is because this would be beneficial to low-income people in our districts, that they could have assistance.
we have to count the people within our jurisdiction that we serve. We could not go out and count people outside of the jurisdictional
It
area.
has to be, this paragraph has to be changed.
Yeah.
Reading, the way it reads, it's reading.
Yeah, it says the service area is the Potawatomi County, Cleveland County, Oklahoma County, and the areas adjacent to the 8 Potawatomi district offices.
That is the
Yeah.
service area.
But-
You're just saying that it shouldn't have that.
We should include the 8 districts if they're not going to be able to benefit from the program.
But if the 8 districts send a child to
us.
this development center, someone from the district sends a child here, then they get admitted.
I see that, but isn't that kind of not possible, not?
We can send the money back to the federal government however you want to do it.
If we change the paragraph, the problem comes is we change the paragraph, we have to change our count. We change our count, we get less funding for the child care here. So it's kind of, had you rather explain where the money goes or just not get the money? And the people in this child care do it less.
These counties, we can count children that come here within these counties. If they come here, we can count them. Like if they would send their children to us. But, we don't have a lot of children from Cleveland County, but that is one of our territories.
Actually, I don't think that do you think that they have included the district office count?
But they're doing it, they haven't included the districts.
Well, it
They're
says
not-
they have. It says they have.
It does say the districts.
They're talking about the 477 program. Their district, their age.
See what it says?
If they're talking about our legislative districts, this is wrong. If it's something else, we need to, if it's their districts, 477, if it has to do with them, then
Yeah,
it's
because
okay. We
the
need to get that
8
clarified.
district offices are not included in our 477 service area.
No.
So that should not have been included in there. In fact, I don't ever remember that language being in there.
Jason, too. Jamie, this is wrong. I'm not for sure how it got that in there.
Well, the 477 program doesn't just cover the child care center. 477 is like 8 different federal agencies. Some of which under 477 we serve the district areas. Some 477 we don't. 477 was a federal consolidation of all the 92,638 contracts into one program where we can, Department of Labor, Department of Education, DHHS, all of those were combined into the Bureau of Indian Affairs 477 program. And in some cases, we are funded for district offices under 477, but not in child care.
This district office has to do with 477. They're not talking about the legislative districts. We're not talking about that. I'm not for sure. I'll have to get it clarified, but I know they're not talking about our legislative districts.
Okay, Chair, entertain a motion to table.
I was going to make a comment, the people that are being served here,
We have a deadline.
people that are being served here.
July
are
1st
from the
deadline?
Areas, outside areas. So is that not inclusive? The people that are going to the clinic or going to the school, are they not being served at times from the outside? If you bring people in?
Well, what we need to find out is what is the declared tribal service area. Can we table this until the end of the meeting?
Yeah.
We'll call Margaret and find out what the deal is. So I'm going to, Chairman, entertain a motion to table this to the end of the agenda. Motion made by Representative Carney, Eva Marie Carney, seconded by Representative Dave Carney, and we'll move that to the end of the agenda item. Next item on the agenda is Resolution 1453 ED, resolution pursuant to Public Law 102477 on consolidation.
Resolution 14-53-ED, a resolution pursuant to Public Law 102-477 regarding consolidation of employment, training, and education services. First three whereas, the same as read in previous resolution. Fourth whereas, the Citizen Potawatomi Nation administers Department of Health and Human Services Child Care Development Block Grant, Bureau of Indian Affairs, Adult Vocational Training, Employment Assistance, Higher Education, Adult Education, General Assistance, and Johnson O'Malley programs, as well as the Department of Labor Workforce Investment Act. And whereas Congress has enacted Public Law 102-477, which allows TRIs to voluntarily consolidate various employment training and related programs, and whereas Public Law 102-477 permits the consolidation of funding received for these programs and allows greater flexibility in the development, coordination, and operation of said programs, and whereas funding for the 477 program is formula-driven and appropriated annually by the federal agencies, DOL, BIA, and DHHS, and is estimated, based on fiscal year 2013 actual funding, to be approximately $3,500,000. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the legislature of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation that a resolution consolidating these employment and training and related programs and authorizing them to be administered in accordance with the nation's 102-477 plan is hereby approved. Now, therefore, be it further resolved that by act of this resolution and consistent with the separation of powers defined in the Constitution, if awarded, an appropriation of up to $3,500,000 from the 477 account or other applicable accounts for the implementation, negotiation, operation, enforcement, procurement, settlement, and or completion of this contract, compact, regulation, or agreement by the tribal chairman or his designate is hereby authorized.
Is there discussion? Chair would entertain a motion to approve the resolution as read. Motion made by Representative Kraft. Is there a second? Representative Lambert. Roll call, please.
Chairman Barrett,
Koenig.
Vice Chairman Capps,
Carnegie.
Secretary Treasurer Trousdale, Koenig, Representative Slavin, Representative Eva Marie Carney,
Koenig.
Representative Whistler,
Koenig.
Representative Bersall,
Koenig.
Representative Lambert,
Koenig.
Representative Payne,
Koenig.
Representative Johnson,
Koenig.
Representative Dave Carney,
Koenig.
Representative Kraft,
Hold on. There we go.
Representative Schmelkoffer,
Koenig.
Representative Barrett.
Koenig.
14 in favor, 2 absent.
14 in favor, 2 absent. It is approved. Next item on the agenda is Resolution 1454 ED. You could read that into the record, please.
Resolution 14-54-ED, a resolution supporting the Citizen Potawatomi Nation's Tribal Youth Initiative Project application for funding through the Bureau of Indian Affairs fiscal year 2014 Tribal Youth Initiative Program and authorizing the implementation thereof if awarded. First three whereas are the same as read in previous resolution. The fourth whereas, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, BIA, through its Tribal Youth Initiative Program, has announced availability of fiscal year 2014 funds for the support and development of tribal youth programs focused on science in line with conservation and resource management. And whereas the CPN proposes to create the Wildlife Warriors Project, which will allow the CPN Eagle Aviary to collaborate with the CPN Cultural Mentorship Program to install an eagle nest camera and give kid-friendly presentations about wildlife conservation to youth ages 3 through 12 at the CPN Child Development Center. And whereas the Wildlife Warriors will ultimately provide opportunities for youth to become engaged in the field of natural resource management and a career in natural resources management, and whereas there is no non-federal cash cost share requirement required by the Citizen Potawatomi Nation, now therefore be it resolved by the legislature of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation that a resolution supporting the BIA Tribal Youth Initiative and authorizing the implementation thereof, if awarded, is hereby approved. Now therefore be it further resolved that by act of the resolution, and consistent with the separation of powers defined in the Constitution, if awarded, an appropriation of up to $75,000 from the fiscal year 14 BIA Tribal Youth Initiative Fund and other applicable accounts for the implementation, negotiation, operation, enforcement, procurement, settlement, and or completion of this contract, compact, regulation, or agreement by the tribal chairman or his designate is hereby authorized.
Is there discussion? Representative Slavin?
Yes, sir. Would it be possible to use our electronic system to send this out to the district that our youth could see this also? The participation
We should be able to put it on the website.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
I think this would be a great, that Eagle
I think, yeah, it'd be streaming, and if we have the bandwidth to stream it over the website, we'll do that. That's a good idea.
I would love to see that. And we could publicize it so that our people in the district would be aware of it.
I know we have the bandwidth at the Grand. I don't know if we have the bandwidth here, but we can. If we do, we'll put it on
I would love to see that.
because that would be a fairly high resolution picture. So I'm pretty sure we have it here. So
I
we'll.
don't know how much interest that Eagle camp in the past with the camping on Eagle Nest, how much interest that created.
We'll make sure that that gets that gets on the website. Any other discussion? Chair will entertain a Representative Lambert.
I just wanted to know who came up with Wildlife Warriors. That's fabulous.
I believe the ladies at the Eagle Aviary came up with that one.
That's good. I think every youth will want to be a part of that.
Great. Any other discussion? Chair would entertain a motion to approve the resolution as read. Motion made by Representative Slavin, seconded by Representative Barrett. Roll call, please.
Chairman Barrett,
Koenig,
Vice Chairman Capps,
Carnegie.
Secretary Treasurer Trouser, Koenig, Representative Slavin,
Okay.
Representative Eva Marie Carney,
Koenig,
Representative Whistler,
Koenig,
Representative Bursoff,
Koenig,
Representative Lambert,
Koenig,
Representative Payne,
Koenig,
Representative Johnson,
Koenig,
Representative Dave Carney,
Koenig,
Representative Kraft,
Carnegie.
Representative Spindlecoffer,
Koenig.
Representative Barrett.
Koenig,
14 in favor, 2 absent.
14 in favor, 2 absent. It is approved. Next is item,
We're ready to go back to this if you want to.
okay, we'd like to, at this time, go back to Resolution 1452. And Vice Chairman Capps, if you want to give us some commentary.
This resolution that we are talking about, 1452 education, it is approximately for the 19,172 children that's listed here. The reason that this area is adjacent to the 8 Potawatomi district offices was put in these, and they tell me it has been for several years now. Rhonda Butcher put that in there in the hopes that one of these days we could get additional funding for the districts. And she has brought that to the attention of self-governance people, and that's why she keeps sticking that clause in. Now this is the first time that we've really noticed it in there. But that's Rhonda Butcher, our self-governance director, is the one that inserts that clause, hoping that eventually we can get money for the districts.
Something that we should note, the 19,172 population is only the population within Pot County, Cleveland County, and Oklahoma County. The population we have not been allowed to count is that out in the Potawatomi district offices. We keep including this language in hopes that someday we can include that service count. Yes, Representative Slater.
Since we have included this, we're trying to get those districts included in the count or in the system. Will it make a difference if people in the district will apply to the DIA for assistance? Low-income families apply for assistance through the DIA for their...
I think it might. I would ask the self-governance people, but it'd be in the jurisdiction of other tribes. But those areas where there isn't a tribal jurisdiction, I bet it probably would help. That's a good idea.
I'll say this about Rhonda Butcher. I think that we probably have one of the best self-governance people in the whole state, or maybe the whole United States. And so when she does something like this, she definitely has a purpose and she knows what she's doing. So I would say that this is a very good deal that she has included these districts. She's thinking ahead.
So, Representative Bursaw, are we okay with that language, or do we need to make a change? Get his mic on.
Looks like the way I read this, it looks like there is something available that's not there. And that's the way I read it.
If we can get the population counted there, we'd be great. My guess
But
is
would the service be there?
Well, that's the problem, is that like the Citizen Potawatomi that are in the Topeka area, when the tribes that serve the Topeka area are counted, they actually get to include that population in their count. Just as we include the non-indigenous Indians in our area, within our service area, we get to include them.
But would the service be there? Yes. See, these vouchers are used at daycare facilities and after-school facilities that charge for children to come to and participate. That's what these vouchers are for.
So can they apply for the use of those vouchers in the district areas?
No, not this particular for this 477, but there may be programs in your area that we could look into for us to apply for. But that's why Rhonda has included this, hoping that one of these days we would be able to have additional monies to include the districts. Also, or spend third-party money, because we do have third-party money in our daycare system, our child development center, or spend some of that money in the districts.
But our people are eligible to apply if there's another nation that they can apply for those vouchers in that area if they're in that area.
Yes, if there's an area,
If they're in that head count.
if you have Native American children in your area, I would imagine there's a similar program like our Child Development Center that is run by Native Americans that you could apply for the vouchers.
We'll find out, Representative Bursaw, if Citizen Potawatomi in the Topeka area can apply for a voucher under the 477 program.
And keep in
Right,
mind
yeah,
that we used to do this with the state of Oklahoma. We used to apply for the state of Oklahoma vouchers, and we discontinued that. So I know that you have programs in your district that the Native American children apply for the state vouchers.
okay.
Representative Eva Marie Carney?
Chairman Barrett, did you say that the intention is to use this money to fund after-school care at our child care center?
That's what
It's
yes.
not a voucher system where you can go anywhere else.
That's the primary use of the vouchers.
Okay, because
Are the vouchers
I
used
have
anywhere
no
else?
problem.
I'm sorry.
No, I said I have no problem with this language, and I think it makes sense because this is a system that permits vouchers, it permits child care based centers. If we get this money, what you're saying is you're going to decide that you're going to limit the availability to registration of kids at our child care center. Clearly, kids in the various districts can't go to that child care center because they can't commute from the different areas. So I don't see this as misleading. I think we've clarified sort of what the intention is.
If what we are putting the language in there is in hopes that someday we get to include the Citizen Potawatomi in the districts where they can be vouchered. The current population we're allowed to count is 19,172, which is only Potawatomi County, Cleveland County, and Oklahoma County, Oklahoma. And we keep defining our service area because of our constitutional language that says every citizen Potawatomi is within the jurisdiction of the tribe. That has been a bone of contention with the Bureau of Indian Affairs for many years. Even though we were granted constitutional jurisdiction, we're not granted service jurisdiction. So we keep trying. Is any other discussion? Chair would entertain a motion to approve the resolution as presented. Motion made by Representative Payne. Is there a second? Second by Representative Dave Carney. Roll call, please.
Chairman Barrett.
Koenig.
Vice Chairman Capps.
Carnegie.
Secretary Treasurer Trousdale Koenig. Representative Slavin.
Okay.
Representative Eve Marie Carney.
Koenig.
Representative Whistler.
Koenig.
Representative Bursaw.
Koenig.
Representative Lambert.
Koenig.
Representative Payne.
Koenig.
Representative Johnson.
Koenig.
Representative Dave Carney.
Koenig.
Representative Kraft. Representative Schmidt-Coffer. Representative Barrett. 14 in favor, 2 absent.
14 in favor, 2 absent. Next is Resolution 1455. If you could read that into the record, please, Secretary Treasurer Trousdale.
Resolution 14-55-HHS, a resolution authorizing the Citizen Potawatomi Nation's fiscal year 2014 competitive diabetes healthy heart initiative application to the Indian Health Service. First three, whereas, same as read in the previous resolution. The fourth, whereas, the Indian Health Service is accepting applications for fiscal year 2014 competitive cooperative agreement funding directed at healthy heart and diabetes prevention initiatives. And whereas the Citizen Potawatomi Nation has implemented a community-directed diabetes program for 17 years and provides care for approximately 550 Native Americans who have been diagnosed with diabetes. And whereas the Citizen Potawatomi Nation proposes to provide a healthy heart program aimed at cardiovascular disease risk reduction in Native Americans with diabetes through intensive activities including case management, disease management, and self-management education. And whereas the Citizen Potawatomi Nation also proposes less intensive community awareness activities such as health fairs, exercise challenges, and competition for those at risk for cardiovascular disease. And whereas the Citizen Potawatomi Nation can apply for base funding of $324,300 for a 2-year project period with no matching funds or in-kind services required. Now therefore be it resolved by the legislature of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation that a resolution authorizing and supporting the Citizen Potawatomi Nation's fiscal year 2014 competitive diabetes healthy heart initiative application to the Indian Health Service under the Special Diabetes Program for Indians is hereby approved. Now therefore be it further resolved that by act of this resolution and consistent with separation of powers defined in the Constitution, if awarded, an appropriation of federal funds of $324,300 from the Indian Health Service Fund or other applicable accounts for the implementation, negotiation, operation, enforcement, procurement, settlement, and/or completion of this contract, compact, regulation, or agreement by the tribal chairman or his designee is hereby authorized.
Is there discussion?
This particular bill was just recurring. This amount is recurring, and it's the same amount that we had last year. It's a 2-year program. Now, you see these every year, though. We have to do a resolution every year, but it's for 2 years.
Is there any other discussion? Chair would entertain a motion to approve the resolution as read. Motion made by Representative Whistler, seconded by Representative Eva Marie Carney. Roll call, please.
Chairman Barrett,
Konege?
Vice Chairman Capps,
Konegay.
Secretary Treasurer Trousdale, Konegay, Representative Slavin, Representative Eva Marie Carney,
Honegay?
Representative Whistler,
Konegay.
Representative Bersall,
Konegay.
Representative Lambert,
Konegay.
Representative Payne,
Konegay.
Representative Johnson,
Konegay.
Representative Dave Carney,
Konegay.
Representative Kraft, Representative Smellicoffer, Representative Barrett.
Konegay.
14 in favor, 2 absent.
14 in favor, 2 absent. It is approved. Next is Resolution 1456. If you could read that into the HHS, if you could read that into the record, please.
Resolution 14-56-HHS, a resolution approving the Citizen Potawatomi Nation's fiscal year 2015 diabetes grant year 18 proposal to the Indian Health Services under Special Diabetes Program for Indian Tribes. First three whereas are the same as read in the previous resolution. The fourth whereas, the Citizen Potawatomi Nation desires to enter into a 18th year grant agreement with the Indian Health Service for approximately $626,735 to continue its special diabetes program for the 18th year. And whereas in fiscal year 2015, the Citizen Potawatomi Nation proposes to continue its diabetic program aimed at diabetic prevention and education and primary, secondary, and tertiary diabetic services for the Native American community. And whereas the Citizen Potawatomi Nation is not required to provide matching or in-kind donations to receive the funds. Now therefore be it resolved by the legislature of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation that a resolution supporting the Citizen Potawatomi Nation's fiscal year 2015 diabetes grant year 18 proposal to the Indian Health Service under the Special Diabetes Program for Indians is hereby approved. Now therefore be it further resolved that by act of this resolution and consistent with the separation of powers defined in the Constitution, if awarded, an appropriation of up to $626,735 from the Indian Health Service Fund or other applicable accounts for the implementation, negotiation, operation, enforcement, procurement, settlement, and/or completion of this contract, compact, regulation, or agreement by the tribal chairman or his designate is hereby authorized.
Is there a discussion?
This resolution too is recurring, and we are very fortunate. I tell you what, if you have diabetes, you better be Indian, because we have a wonderful program at our clinic for diabetic people. And of course, the Native American people have a lot of diabetes. But our program, our Healthy Heart program and the diabetes program is a wonderful program. This is for a year, and that's a lot of money. And it takes a lot of money to treat our diabetic patients. So I'm thankful for this money that we get for diabetic people.
Is there any other discussion? Chair will entertain a motion to approve the resolution as read. Motion made by Representative Kraft. Is there a second by Representative Lambert? Roll call, please.
Chairman Barrett.
Koenig.
Vice Chairman Capps.
Congregation.
Secretary Treasurer Trousdale. Koenig. Representative Slavin.
Okay.
Representative Eva Marie Carney.
Honeycake.
Representative Whistler.
Conagay.
Representative Bersall.
Conagay.
Representative Lambert.
Conagay.
Representative Payne.
Conagay.
Representative Johnson.
Conagay.
Representative Dave Carney.
Conagay.
Representative Kraft.
Honeycake.
Representative Smeltoffer. Representative Barrett. 14 in favor, 2 absent.
Next item on the agenda is Resolution 1457, HHS. You could read that into the record, please, Secretary Treasurer Trousdale.
Resolution 14-57-HHS, a resolution approving the submission of the fiscal year 2015 Community Service Block Grant application to the Administration for Children and Families. First three, whereas, the same as read in the previous resolution. Fourth, whereas, the Citizen Potawatomi Nation Public Law 102-477 program, Employment and Training Social Services, assists low-income Native American households who are otherwise ineligible for 477 program funds with fuel cost through vouchers to Firelight Convenience Store or other emergency needs such as utility payments or medical-related needs. And whereas, if funded, the Citizen Potawatomi Nation will receive up to $160,000 in a community service block grant to deliver such assistance. Now therefore be it resolved by the legislature of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation that a resolution supporting the submission of the fiscal year 2015 Community Service Block Grant application to the Administration for Children and Families is hereby approved. Now therefore be it further resolved that by act of this resolution and consistent with the separation of powers defined in the Constitution, if awarded, an appropriation up to $160,000 from the fiscal year 2015 CSBG fund or other applicable accounts for the implementation, negotiation, operation, enforcement, procurement, settlement, and/or completion of this contract, compact, regulation, or agreement by the tribal chairman or his designate is hereby authorized.
This particular resolution is good news for us because the amount has gone up from $3,500 to $160,000 now. That is a huge leap. We don't know that we'll get the $160,000. We don't know we'll get all of it. But because of our census, we were going by an old census from 1980, this 477 program was. And when our people have been trying to get it changed for a long time, our self-governance people and our employment and training people, they've been negotiating with this agency for a long time to change this. And they've been adamant about it, that it needs to be changed because we don't have enough money. And so finally, they've listened to us and they've increased our population. So their hard work has paid off, and we might get up to $160,000. Now, if we get that amount, the services are going to have to be extended somewhat on this program, but what a blessing if we could get that much money.
Is there further discussion? Representative Bursall?
What area is covered under this grant?
This is that, where all they've had the money for in the past is to give out vouchers to go to travel to the to the doctor's offices. They just had $3,500 for our area, for our district.
With Pottawatomie County, Cleveland County, and Oklahoma County portions.
And so all we've done is give out $10 vouchers with that $3,500. And now, if we have $160,000, then we're going to have to sit at the table and revamp the whole thing because we'll have a lot more money for services. So it's a good thing.
The $3,500 has been, it's such a token amount that, given our population, that after 18 years, 18 years ago that wasn't a lot of money. Now, if we are funded at that level, then hopefully we'll get some meaningful application for the funds. So if we do get funded, we'll take a look at redesigning the program. And then, spread the voucher out. Yes, Representative Burson.
The reason I ask, I just had a tribal member have his electricity turned off, so.
Now, you do have LIHEAP in your particular areas. All of our areas have LIHEAP. It may not be.
I know, I had referred him to that earlier in the winter, so.
Okay.
But out of curiosity, did he get anything from LIHEAP there in Topeka?
No, he was down south of Wichita.
You understand that our people, our Native American people, they are eligible for Indian LIHEAP, and they also can go to the county for assistance. Now, sometimes they'll be turned away because they'll say, did you get assistance through the Native Americans? And if they say yes, sometimes they turn them away, sometimes they don't. But what I'm getting at is those programs are everywhere, all over the United States.
This,
I had referred,
to my knowledge, the only really successful LIHEAP program nationwide that has really been effective is in Boston area. And I believe former Congressman, or he may still be a Congressman, Kennedy, put together Patrick Kennedy, put together a nonprofit fuel oil trading company and used LIHEAP funds as the base funding for it, and through some pretty clever application was able to buy, in the futures market, was able to buy heating oil for low-income people in the Boston area. But they really haven't, this program, if we had 50 people request 1 tank of propane, it would have exhausted our LIHEAP funds. So they really haven't allowed Indian tribes to do much with it. Just what? Further not LIHEAP, yeah. Any other discussion? Chair would entertain a motion to approve the having a little control issue today. So. Is there any other discussion? Chair would entertain a motion to approve the resolution as read.
So moved.
Is out to die for lack of a motion. Representative Barrett made the motion. Representative Slavin, is that correct, made the second. Roll call, please.
Chairman Barrett.
Koenig.
Vice Chairman Capps.
Koenig.
Secretary Treasurer Trousdale. Koenig. Representative Slavin.
Koenig.
Representative Eva Marie Carney.
Koenig.
Representative Whistler.
Koenig.
Representative Bersall.
Conagay.
Representative Lambert.
Conagay.
Representative Payne.
Conagay.
Representative Johnson.
Conagay.
Representative Dave Carney.
Conagay.
Representative Kraft. Representative Smiddlecoffer.
Conagay.
Representative Barrett.
Conagay.
14 in favor, 2 absent.
14 in favor, 2 absent. It is approved. Next is Resolution 1458 HHS. I was a little ahead of myself with the LIHEAP. If you could read that into the record, please. It was a good speech. You could read that into the record, please.
Resolution 14-58-HHS, a resolution approving the submission of the fiscal year 2015 Lower Income Home and Energy Assistance Program, LIHEAP, grant application to the Administration for Children and Families. First three are the same as read in the previous resolutions. Fourth whereas, the Citizen Potawatomi Nation Public Law 102-477 program, Employment and Training Social Services, assists eligible low-income clients with home energy costs by paying utility companies directly for energy consumption. And whereas, if funded, the Citizen Potawatomi Nation will receive an estimated $300,000 in LIHEAP funds to deliver such assistance. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the legislature of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation that a resolution supporting the submission of the fiscal year 2015 Lower Income and Energy Assistance Program, LIHEAP, grant application to the Administration for Children and Families is hereby approved. Now, therefore, be it further resolved that by act of this resolution and consistent with separation of powers defined in the Constitution, if awarded, an appropriation up to $300,000 from the fiscal year 2015 LIHEAP fund or other applicable accounts for the implementation, negotiation, operation, enforcement, procurement, settlement, and or completion of this contract, compact, regulation, or agreement by the tribal chairman or his designate is hereby authorized.
Last year, this, even though we applied for much more money, this was funded at $28,000. We were able to apply basically all of the money to utility bills, but $28,000 doesn't go far. Hopefully, they'll increase this level of funding as we've hoped every year. Is there discussion? Chair would entertain a motion to approve the resolution as read. I'll get it in a minute. There we go. Is there there we go. Is there a motion to approve? There we go. Now I got it. A motion by Dave Carney, Representative Dave Carney. Do I see that correct? Representative Carney, is there a second? Second by Vice Chairman Linda Capps. Roll call, please.
Chairman Barrett.
Conagay.
Vice Chairman Capps.
Conagay.
Secretary Treasurer Trousdale. Conagay. Representative Slavin.
Conagay.
Representative Eva Marie Carney.
Conagay.
Representative Whistler.
Conagay.
Representative Bersall.
Conagay.
Representative Lambert.
Conagay.
Representative Payne.
Conagay.
Representative Johnson.
Conagay.
Representative Dave Carney.
Conagay.
Representative Kraft.
Conagay.
Representative Smiddlecoffer.
Conagay.
Representative Barrett.
Conagay.
14 in favor, 2 absent.
14 in favor, 2 absent. It is approved. Next is Resolution 1459 HHS. If you could read that into the record, please, Secretary Treasurer Trousdale.
Resolution 14-59-HHS, a resolution supporting an increase in funding for the Citizen Potawatomi Nation Sanitation Facilities Construction Program, Public Law 86-121, for new and like new homes offered through the United States Indian Health Service, Project OK 14-E38. First three whereas, the same as read in the previous resolution. Fourth whereas, the Citizen Potawatomi Nation is submitting a project scope entitled Citizen Potawatomi Scattered Housing to the United States Indian Health Service IHS under the Office of Environmental Health Sanitation Facilities Construction Branch under the authority of Public Law 86-121 for the construction of sanitation facilities. And whereas the IHS will provide the funds and Assistant Potawatomi Nation will design and construct the facilities under the provisions of the Self-Governance Compact that became effective in fiscal year 1998. The total cost to IHS for providing sanitation facilities to 24 eligible homes is $234,650. And whereas Assistant Potawatomi Nation fully supports the entire project for the construction of sanitation facilities as provided by the provisions of the Self-Governance Compact with IHS DHHS that became effective in fiscal year 1998, and the multi-year funding agreement 2012-2016 MFA with IHS DHHS executed by both parties and effective in May 2012 in connection with said compact. Now therefore be it resolved by the legislature of the Assistant Potawatomi Nation that a resolution supporting an increase in funding offered by the Indian Health Services for sanitation facilities construction program under Public Law 86-121 for new and like new homes is hereby approved. Now therefore be it further resolved that by act of this resolution and consistent with the separation of powers defined in the Constitution, if awarded, an appropriation of $234,650 from the Office of Environmental Health or other applicable accounts for the implementation, negotiation, operation, enforcement, procurement, settlement, and or completion of this contract, compact, regulation, or agreement by the tribal chairman or his designate is hereby authorized.
This too is recurring money. It's Curtis Silas's program. I know that I have written lots of times Curtis Silas is a tribal member. You realize that this might serve more than 24 homes because it is for water and septic systems, and it may be that a person needs a septic system, but they may not need to drill a well, or they may need a well and may not need a septic. And so sometimes we serve more than 24 homes with this. Most of the time we serve more than 24 homes with this.
Is there discussion? Chair will entertain a motion to approve the resolution as read. Motion made by Representative Eva Marie Carney. Is there a second? Second by Representative David Barrett. Roll call, please.
Chairman Barrett.
Koenig.
Vice Chairman Capps.
Koenig.
Secretary Treasurer Trousdale. Koenig. Representative Slavin. Representative Eva Marie Carney.
Koenig.
Representative Whistler.
Koenig.
Representative Bursall.
Koenig.
Representative Lambert.
Koenig.
Representative Payne.
Koenig.
Representative Johnson.
Koenig.
Representative Carney.
Koenig.
Representative Kraft.
Koenig.
Representative Smeltkoff.
Koenig.
Representative Barrett.
Koenig.
14 in favor, 2 absent.
14 in favor, 2 absent. It is approved. Next, Resolution 1460, NR, approving a fee to trust application. You could read that into the record, please, Secretary Treasurer Trousdale.
Resolution 14-60-NR, a resolution approving a fee to trust acquisition application to the Bureau of Indian Affairs and request for trust acquisition of the non-gaming on-reservation Burlington Northern Santa Fe property. First three, whereas, the same as read in the previous resolution. The fourth, whereas, Assistant Potawatomi Nation is making application to the Southern Plains Regional Office of the Bureau of Indian Affairs to request transfer of fee simple title to the United States of America in trust for the Assistant Potawatomi Nation. And whereas the legislature believes that increasing the tribal land base furthers the pursuit of tribal self-determination and allows future generations of tribal leaders to have the flexibility to use the land for health, welfare, and sovereignty of the Assistant Potawatomi Nation. And whereas Section 5 of the Indian Reorganization Act of June 18, 1934 provides authority for the fee to trust acquisition, and whereas the property is on reservation or within the former reservation boundaries of the Assistant Potawatomi Nation and legally described in Attachment A, and whereas the property was purchased with tribal funds for non-gaming or gaming-related use, and Assistant Potawatomi Nation owns the service rights to the property in fee simple, which is not currently under lease. And whereas there are no improvements and the land has adequate ingress and egress for traffic and services, and whereas the current and proposed land use is for cultural purposes, and is necessary to facilitate tribal self-determination. And whereas the Citizen Potawatomi Nation agrees to indemnify and hold harmless the United States, its agents, and employees against any lawsuits, loss, expense, and claim potentially filed against the tribe for any damages relating to asbestos and lead-based paint, if any, associated with improvements located on property described in Attachment A. Now therefore be it resolved by the legislature of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation that a resolution supporting the fee to trust acquisition application to the Southern Plains Regional Office of the Bureau of Indian Affairs and trust acquisition of the Burlington Northern Santa Fe property is hereby approved.
I believe I sent out a synopsis of all the fee to trust properties to everyone. I included those who were not on my committee.
This property, if you hooked it and hit it long on number 2 on the golf course, your ball went onto it. So this is the piece that is directly south of Ball Pipe and Supply that would connect the property adjacent to number 17 fairway and the area that is the green and fairway of number 2. So the railroad has kept the end of track piece, but the piece that is directly south of Ball Pipe and Supply that we have been going across for years anyway, this is the piece that we're talking about. This area, I think, is it's been kept in pretty natural condition. I think is ideally suited as part of the area that we were going to, if we ever developed the Sharp Place into a RV park, is ideally suited for our traditional activities because there is a connector to the headquarters area, and there's a fairly large area there. We could get water and utilities to it, and it might be an ideal place for naming circles and that kind of thing if we chose to use that. There would be plenty of parking, and there would be an area adjacent to what is now the Learning Center's nature pond. So it'd be sort of a connector to that. The pipeline that runs through the golf course, the empty pipeline that we've been trying to get for quite a long time, the connecting valves and the pig trap is on this property. Is there any other discussion?
Chairman?
Yes. Representative Barrett.
The land that is rectangular, long rectangular to the east, did you say that was a railroad?
See that long strip that's
Yes,
to
that
the
long, narrow strip.
bottom side of it? That's actually the dead end on the railroad.
So
It's right behind second, number 2 ground.
will we ever be able to acquire that, or do they not want to?
BN Santa Fe doesn't want to sell that piece of track, even though they don't use it. They don't back down it anymore across the bridge, and they've let the end of the track grow up in trees. They still won't give up that piece of right of way.
Do we have access? Do they allow us to go from here to here? Yes, but not officially.
There's a road there. Whether they allow it or not, I don't know, but we've been across it. Whenever we construct the bridge from where the behind the Taj, where the radio tower is, over to where we're going to put the tree nursery and the sod farm area adjacent to 17, that's our connector from the road from Gordon Cooper that goes behind the driving range and then goes behind number 1 green. That would let us go all the way over to the area adjacent to 17 to build a bridge from where the concrete plant is over to that property. Any other discussion? Representative Kraft?
I noticed that there aren't any improvements, and I didn't catch that. So I don't know if we need to strike the last whereas, talking about the lead inspector, if there are buildings or structures on it. Unless they just want that in there nowadays.
That's the boilerplate.
That's boilerplate language that you have to put
I
in.
think that's what
Even
it
if there
is.
aren't any improvements.
Even if there aren't any, you have to verify, you have to warrant that they don't have a lead-based paint or asbestos
They
liability.
specifically asked for that because it's railroad property.
I think that because I think their thinking is, even though there's not a structure, there could be buried asbestos, that type of thing on the property. So we're just warning that.
Yeah, the hold harmless clauses have been added to this boilerplate language to all of these trust applications. Any other discussion? Chair would entertain a motion to approve the resolution as read. Motion made by Representative Johnson. Is there a second? Representative Bursall. Roll call, please.
Chairman Barrett,
Honegay?
Vice Chairman Capps,
Sonagay.
Secretary Treasurer Trousdale, Koenig, Representative Slavin,
Okay.
Representative Eva Marie Carney,
Koenig,
Representative Whistler,
Conagay.
Representative Bursall,
Conagay?
Representative Lambert,
Conagay.
Representative Payne,
Conagay.
Representative Johnson,
Conagay.
Representative Dave Carney,
Conagay.
Representative Kraft,
Sonagay.
Representative Spindlecoffer,
Sonagay.
Representative Barrett,
Aye.
14 in favor, 2 absent.
14 in favor, 2 absent. It is approved. Next is Resolution 1461 NR. If you could read that into the record, please.
Resolution 14-61-NR, a resolution approving a fee to trust acquisition application to the Bureau of Indian Affairs and request for trust acquisition of the non-gaming on-reservation Schlober property. The first 5, whereas are the same as read in the previous resolution. The 6th, whereas the legislature believes that increasing the tribal land base furthers the pursuit of tribal self-determination and allows future generations of tribal leaders to have flexibility to use the land for health, welfare, and sovereignty of the Sisseton Potawatomi Nation. And whereas the property is on reservation or within former reservation boundaries of the Sisseton Potawatomi Nation and legally described in Attachment A and listed in the Potawatomi County Treasurer's records as parcel ID numbers 000-30-010-004-0-024-000, 0000-30-010-004-0-003-000, and 0000-30-010-004-0-004-000 Schlober tracts. And whereas the property was purchased with tribal funds for non-gaming or gaming-related use, and the Sisseton Potawatomi Nation owns the surface rights to the property in fee simple, which is currently not under lease. And whereas there are improvements and the land has ingress and egress adequate for traffic and services, the current and proposed land use is for agricultural purposes and is necessary to facilitate tribal self-determination. And whereas the Sisseton Potawatomi Nation agrees to indemnify and hold harmless the United States and its agents and employees against any lawsuits, loss, expense, and claim potentially filed against the tribe, bringing damages relating to asbestos and lead-based paint, if any, associated with the improvements located on the property described in Attachment A. Now therefore be it resolved by the legislature of the Sisseton Potawatomi Nation that a resolution supporting the fee to trust acquisition application to the Southern Plains Regional Office of the Bureau of Indian Affairs and trust acquisition of the Schlober property is hereby approved.
Is there discussion?
Chairman Barrett,
Representative Barrett?
on this, would you look at you've got your map in front of you?
Hold on one second. Yes, I
The
did.
partial all the way to the left of the page, That is, what's in the bold red is one of the parcels. Is that correct?
That is correct. That,
But my question is, the outside blue area is by Wing. That looks like that's inside of their boundaries.
that's an old cutoff loop of the river. To the left of that, where 25 is written on the map, is a Kickapoo allotment. And that property, in fact, it's Judge Wapapaw's, Francine Wapapaw is Judge Wapapaw's wife's family. The Clovers bought that piece to the right of that 25 number at a tax sale that no one was aware of. It was posted at the sheriff's department things, but Clover bought it, and we weren't even aware that they owned it.
So that's why the boundaries, it looks like it's inclusive in, within the boundary, it probably was at one time, but that blue line on the left actually is a boundary for the Kickapoo.
That's correct.
That partial.
And other than that part to the left of the blue, we own everything on the other side of that 2/3 of that cutoff loop of the river.
Thank you.
That area down in there is ideal for fill sand if we ever wanted to do something with it. It's really just needs to be left wild because the access is very difficult. The Clover property is a really excellent acquisition because we own the piece to the north of it, and it connects us back to the piece we have to the south of it that goes all the way to Hardesty. If it is below the floodplain, and construction on it would require an elevation of the pad, but it is developable, and it's ideally suited for agricultural purposes, but for development in the future, it would take some fill unless we are able to get the floodplain elevation amended through the use of our own floodplain map. If the city ever de-annexes this piece of property south of the river and the floodplain map goes into our control, and we control the floodplain map for our existing trust properties, we could put that floodplain back where it was 8 years ago, and the fill would only be about 36 inches for a pad, building pad. Is there any other discussion? Chair would entertain a motion to approve the resolution as read. Motion made by Representative Payne. Is there a second? Representative Whistler. If we could get a roll call, please.
Chairman Barrett,
Honegay.
Vice Chairman Capps,
Donaghy.
Secretary Treasurer Trousdale, Koenig, Representative Slavin, Representative Eve Marie Carney,
Honegay.
Representative Whistler,
Donaghy.
Representative Bersall,
Donaghy.
Representative Lambert,
Koenig,
Representative Payne,
Koenig.
Representative Johnson,
Koenig.
Representative Dave Carney,
Koenig.
Representative Kraft, Representative Middlekoffer,
Koenig.
Representative Barrett, 14 in favor, 2 absent.
14 in favor, 2 absent. It is approved. Next is Resolution 1462 NR for the Cullison property. If you could read that into the record, please, Secretary Treasurer Trousdale.
Resolution 14-62-NR, a resolution approving a fee to trust acquisition application to the Bureau of Indian Affairs and request for trust acquisition of the non-gaming on-reservation Cullison property. The first 5 whereas are the same as read in previous resolution. The 6th whereas. The property is on reservation or within former reservation boundaries of the Sisseton-Potawatomi Nation, legally described in Attachment A, and listed in the Potawatomi County Treasurer's records as parcel ID number 0405-001-010-000-0000 Cullison Tract. And whereas the property was purchased with private funds for non-gaming use, and the Citizen Potawatomi Nation owns the service rights to the property in fee simple, which is currently not under lease, and whereas the current and proposed land use is Indian housing and is necessary to facilitate tribal self-determination, and whereas there are improvements with adequate ingress and egress for traffic and services, whereas the Citizen Potawatomi Nation agrees to indemnify and hold harmless the United States, its agents, employees against any lawsuits, loss, expense, and claim potentially filed against the tribe for any damages relating to asbestos and lead-based paint, if any, associated with the improvements located on the property described in Attachment A. Now therefore be it resolved by the legislature of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation that a resolution supporting the fee to trust acquisition to the Southern Plains Regional Office of the Bureau of Indian Affairs and trust acquisition of the Cullison property is hereby approved.
I think they're 25s. That's less than an acre, though. I mean, if it's 500 feet, it's more than an acre. Isn't it? Well, I think that we are, we believe this is, the way this was originally platted, back when this was put together by the Santa Fe Railroad. The area was for employees of the roundhouse and shops where the Shawnee Steel and the Taj is now. This is a little less than an acre, so that would be 10 25-foot lots, I believe.
Instead of 50 foot, like I said. I can't imagine building a house on 25 feet wide.
Well, those shotgun houses is what?
Is that unbelievable? 25 feet wide to build a house.
It's a shotgun shack. That's what they were building. 12-foot wide house. Is there any discussion? This is one of those, as we're trying to acquire all of this depressed area between us and the river, this is another good one. This was a pretty nice house. So it's an older house, and we have a good tenant in it. Once we get all of these properties hopefully consolidated, they'll all go on our utility system, and will be an additional incentive for the city to de-annex. Is there any other discussion? Chair would entertain a motion to approve the resolution as read. Motion by Eva Marie Carney, Representative Eva Marie Carney, seconded by Representative Jean Lambert. If we could get a roll call, please.
Chairman Barrett,
Koenig,
Vice Chairman Capps,
Koenig.
Secretary Treasurer Trousdale Koenig, Representative Slavin,
Okay.
Representative Eva Marie Carney,
Koenig.
Representative Whistler,
Koenig.
Representative Bursall,
Conagay,
Representative Lambert,
Koenig.
Representative Payne,
Koenig.
Representative Johnson,
cut him off.
Representative Dave Carney,
Koenig.
Representative Kraft,
Koenig.
Representative Smiddlecoffer,
Okay.
Representative Barrett,
Okay.
14 in favor, 2 absent.
14 in favor, 2 absent. I'm sorry I cut you off there, Representative Johnson. I assume that was a Koenig.
He's still 6-2 though.
It's next item on the agenda is Resolution 1463 NR. If you could read that into the record, please, Secretary Treasurer Trousdale.
Resolution 14-63-NR, a resolution approving the fee to trust acquisition application to the Bureau of Indian Affairs and request for trust acquisition of the non-gaming on-reservation 112 Maggie's Place property. First three, whereas, are the same as read in the previous resolution. The fourth, whereas, the Citizen Potawatomi Nation is making application to the Southern Plains Regional Office of the Bureau of Indian Affairs to request transfer of fee simple title to the United States of America in trust for the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. And whereas the legislature believes that increasing the tribal land base furthers the pursuit of tribal self-determination and allows future generations of tribal leaders to have the flexibility to use the land for the health, welfare, and sovereignty of the Sisseton Potawatomi nations. And whereas Section 5 of the Indian Reorganization Act of June 18, 1934 provides authority for the fee-to-trust acquisition. And whereas the property is on reservation or within the former reservation boundaries of the Sisseton Potawatomi Nation, legally described in Attachment A, and listed in the Potawatomi County Treasurer's records as parcel ID number 0000-36-010-003-0-051-00, 112 Maggie's Place tract. And whereas the property was purchased with private funds for non-gaming use, and the Sisseton Potawatomi Nation owns the surface rights to the property in fee simple, which is currently not under lease, and whereas the current and proposed land use is Indian housing and is necessary to facilitate tribal self-determination, and whereas the property has improvements and adequate ingress and egress for traffic and services. Now therefore be resolved by the legislature of the Sisseton Potawatomi Nation that a resolution supporting the fee-to-trust acquisition application to the Southern Plains Regional Office of the Bureau of Indian Affairs and trust acquisition of 112 Maggie's Place property is hereby approved.
Is there discussion? Representative Kraft?
Whereas on the
We should. Good catch.
getting tripped up on
Oh, it's, if the property was built before 1973 or has been rehabilitated since 73, then we don't have to give them the indemnity, the hold harmless. So there is apparently, I believe this property was done as a rehab under BIA, a BIA or a HIP grant, I think it was.
It's also original allotment land.
This was why did
People ought to do it.
Is there additional discussion? Chairman, entertain a motion to approve the resolution as read. Motion made by Representative Bersall, seconded by Representative Lambert. Roll call, please.
Chairman Barrett,
Konigay?
Vice Chairman Capps,
Conagay.
Secretary Treasurer Trousdale, Konigay, Representative Slavin, Representative Eva Marie Carney,
Konagay.
Representative Whistler,
Konagay.
Representative Bersall,
Conagay.
Representative Lambert,
Konagay.
Representative Payne,
Konagay.
Representative Johnson,
Conagay.
Representative Dave Carney,
Conagay.
Representative Kraft,
Konagay.
Representative Smiddlecoff, Representative Barrett.
Konagay.
14 in favor, 2 absent.
14 in favor, 2 absent. It is approved. Next is Resolution 1464, Legislative Committee on Enrollment. If you could read that into the record, please, Secretary Treasurer Trousdale.
Resolution 14-64-LCOE, a resolution of enrollment into the membership of the Sisseton Potawatomi Nation. First 3 whereas are the same as read in the previous resolution. Fourth whereas, the following people have requested enrollment in the tribe and meet the requirements for membership as set forth in Article 3 of the Constitution of the Sisseton Potawatomi Nation. Mackenzie Aaron Counts, Brian Stephen Douglas, Monique Nicole Garner, Adam Alexander Mullins, Hayden Marie Rasher, Julie Marie Reisner, Noah James Reisner, Emily Grace Tanner, Jason Wayne Wilson, Ethan Edlin Wolf, Emma Ann Anderson, William Fred Bryant III, Andrea Jill Duenas, Alejandra Jill Duenas, Nehemiah Paul Juarez, Kayla Jacqueline Nicole Levine, Reagan Annabella Moore, Abigail Lachey Peters, Natalie Eileen Richardson, Landon Michael Sullivan, Cooper Jace Whitaker, Sydney Caitlin Bursall, Cynthia Ann Brannon, Savannah K. Brannon, Caden Levi Brannon, Dusty Lynn Lamb, Giordano Joseph Rico, Marissa Marianne Sanchez, Miguel Chan Sanchez, Michaela Annalise Sanchez, Mason Ernesto Sanchez, Harper Finley Cunningham, Harper Olivia Halton, Hutch William Hembry, Holland Renee Hembry, Hannah Marie Franklin, Sarah Marie Franklin, Lillian Marie Rod, McCaden Lynn Thompson, Vincent Troy Thompson, Joseph Walter Witt, Cameron Mitchell Anderson, Jolia Michelle Beatty, Seth Ryan Beatty, Easton James Beatty, Sarah Kate Beatty, Brielle Page Bowman, Bronson Oliver Bowman, Christopher Boyd Farrell, Ryan Cole Lehman, Silas James Cale Smith, Elias Vicente Castaneda, Joy Allison Cernicki, Gabby Michelle Hamilton, Erica Renee Johnson, Sydney Francis Johnson, Casey Jordan Johnson, Dallas Kelly Knight, Leviticus Reed Longstaff, Roxanne Louise Smith, Justin Levi Weldy, Farrah Lexi Doss, Piper Olivia Doss, Preston Raina Hopkins, Justin Grady Hopkins, Tina Marie Lumen, Christina Tori Lumen, Seth Michael Lumen, Jack David Morgan, Madeline Bell Pazon, Sebastian Isaac Taylor, Reagan Nicole Bibb, Wade Eugene Cotman, Paisley Joy Cotman, Jack Cranford IV, Brock Thomas Dyer, Gabrielle Ryan Lawson, Kaylee Brooke Lawson, Benjamin Michael Lewis, Cadence Renee Sullivan, Camden Ryan Sullivan, Jesse James Anderson, Tara Lynn Boyd, Avery Marie Bernhard, Skylin Rain Fulbright, Chloe Lynn Green, Riot Cole Scarberry, Morgan Allen Raitt, Rowan Markham Stanley, Hugo Alexander Taylor, Addison Lee Welch, Eric James Goyer, Samantha Lee Hanson, Dustin Lee Johnson, Imani Amira McDonald, Maverick Anthony Moisant, Cale Wendell Russell, Jessica Brooke Russell, Laura Denise Schumann, Baudelaire Sheridan Sutherland, Wyatt Christopher Zimmerman, Bailey Don Emberly Carpenter, Emily Wayne Yvonne Carpenter, Joktan Issachar Cook II, Lucas Christopher Flanagan, Maylee Rose Hinkey, Sailor Ray Kesey, Elliot Christopher Specht, Ethan James Specht, Ellis Dutch Wamsley, Annabelle Elizabeth, Taryn Nicole Boshoff, Isabella Zadie Ray Cranford, Chad Allen Kirby, Emery Anna Marie Malakowski, Matthew Carl Pansy, Jackson Humphrey Scott, Paul Victor Scott, Daniel Joseph Scott, Daniel James Shoemaker, Henley Dawn Stamper, Caitlin Elizabeth Bonner, Chloe Ellen Bailey, Thomas Malachi Huffman, Clayton Bryce Housey, Bentley Gage Jones, Harper May Miller, Jackson Lee Nauman, Olivia Carolyn Nauman, Grayson Michael Schrepfer, Isaac Sean Tennant, Alexander Aaron Irvin, Clarence William Gay, Fabian Alexander Jaquez, Matthew Ray Newberry, Isabella Grace Rogers, Cheryl Diane Smith, Leanne Beverly Smith, Lindsay Diane Smith, Josiah Bryan Student, Philip Wayne Stevenson III, Rhoda K. Johnson, Tammy Marie Jones, Isabella Grace Johnson, Charles McAllister Johnson, Luke Preston Roberts, Peyton Quinn Roberts, Lenore Bell Redding, Dean Wayne Twigg, Brittany Michaela Twigg, Gabriella Nicole Twigg, Audrey Simone Twigg, Chloe Elizabeth Coffey, Catherine Grace Coffey, Robert Poindexter Coffey, Christopher Michael Downey, Jack Taylor Downey, Amber Marie Easley, Alistair Alexander Garrett, Jackson Andrew Ice, Araya Lane Lacey, Tristan James Soto, Trent Michael Brumley, Jet Miller Cantrell, Seth Kirkland Caudell, Jahet Allen Haley, Lakota Dwayne Huffin, Josh Jesus Jimenez Jr., Simon Peter Specht, Hillel Tuff Taylor, Henry Love Taylor, Hayden Ryan Walker, Layla Miriam Abdul Hamid, Braxton Lee Dale Bruno, Kayla Cheyenne Bruno, McKaylee Brennan Garner, Zach Tyler Garner, Monica Lee Johnson, Rachel Marie Stewart, Nora Eden LaFoon, Eric Sean Shornston, Justice Denise Stamens, Chelsea Lee Bailey, Cass Withrop Bailey, Jacob Allen Daughtry, Cooper Don Daughtry, Colton Michael Daughtry, Marcia Lee Figueroa, Jennifer Michaela Crutil, Tracy Deanne Laird, Samuel Aaron McKinnon, Isaac David Phillips. Now therefore be it resolved by the legislature of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation that a resolution enrolling the above named persons as members of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation who have, by virtue of the written request for enrollment, agreed to the obligations of such membership and consented to the authority and jurisdiction of the government of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation, and are now entitled to all the benefits and privileges of the citizenship in the Citizen Potawatomi Nation as prescribed by law and tribal custom, is hereby approved.
Is there discussion? Representative Bursaw, is that young man your grandson?
It's my granddaughter, sir.
Granddaughter, I'm sorry. Granddaughter. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Any other close relatives on there? I noticed that the three children of Supreme Court Judge Robert Coffey, Chloe Catherine, and Robert the fourth or third or however many he is. I know Judge Coffey's father is Robert Poindexter Coffey. So, yeah, so Judge Coffey is either junior or the second, so this would probably be the third, I'm guessing.
Started with a long list of, new people and training them, and we got everyone caught up.
Is this a record enrollment?
Whatever.
Is this a record enrollment?
It's probably, well,
It's gotta be
if not,
getting
it's
close.
pretty close.
Well done, Secretary Treasurer.
Yes.
Thank you. I can't help but say that I think there's funding issues coming up.
Yeah. I was going to say, yeah. Jonathan Issachar Cook II is going to have to grow up tough, isn't he?
Chairman, I'm always impressed by the older people that are just now enrolling, and that on page 2 is William Fred Bryant III, born in 1946. So
Really?
he's 68 on page 2, 1 through 8 down.
He sure is.
That's the year I
I'm a lot under that.
Just turned ugly.
Yeah, it got out of hand. Just
Go
right
on your
quick.
way, and then it stops.
Any other, is,
Dear Lord, forgive us for the age of
yeah. Okay, I'm going to get this, there we go. Is there any discussion? Chair would entertain a motion to approve this resolution as read. Representative Bursaw makes the motion. Is there a second? Representative Whistler. Roll call, please. And Representative Bursaw, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We'll send you an original, a signed original of this resolution that you can present if you'd like. We'll sign an extra original for it. Roll call, please.
Chairman Barrett,
Koenig,
Vice Chairman Capps,
Koenig.
Secretary Treasurer Trousdale, Koenig, Representative Slavin,
Koenig.
Representative Eva Marie Carney,
Okay.
Representative Whistler,
Koenig.
Representative Bursaw,
Koenig.
Representative Lambert,
Koenig.
Representative Payne,
Koenig.
Representative Johnson,
Koenig.
Representative Dave Carney,
Koenig.
Representative Kraft, Representative Spindlecott,
Koenig.
Representative Barrett,
Congregate.
14 in favor, 2 absent.
14 in favor, 2 absent. It is approved. Next is Resolution 1465, the Legislative Committee on Enrollment. And these are descendancy enrollments. Is that,
No, these
Oh, old guidelines?
Because.
Oh, special enrollment.
James Livingston had 2 D37s,
Okay.
and, usually when there might be some question about it, I mean, I don't doubt the lineage and everything, but I like to put them on separate resolutions.
So this is one where the parents weren't living.
Now, on Robert James Livingston, his mother never got enrolled, but Lueva's sister Julia did get enrolled under Reuben Edwards being eligible in 1937.
Okay.
And that was on, and I included page 2 of resolution 0239, shows that James Bradford was in fact enrolled under Reuben Edwards as a 1937 descendant, except, case, Lueva never got enrolled, and we just got basically 2 generations here that will skip. They're both eligible for the 1937 road.
I wonder, is that McEvers, Julia Anderson McEvers? Isn't that the former ownership of the property we have next to in Topeka, next to the?
I don't know if her property had she was a certificate number 14.
But she came down from Topeka, didn't she?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think she was the former owner of the property there in Topeka. The family, the twins,
Oh, the
On the hill.
Murray Hill
Murray
property. I think wasn't McEvers the owner of either that one or the piece where the barn is? Correct me if I'm wrong, Representative Bursall.
I have no knowledge, sir.
Yeah, for some reason that McEvers rings a bell there for some reason. At any rate, this is one of those special enrollment conditions where we have 2 1937 numbers behind them, so we're sure of the lineage. Is there any discussion? Chair would entertain a motion to approve. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. If you could read that into the record, please. Just about got ahead of you.
Resolution 14-65-LCOE, a resolution of enrollment into the membership of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. First four whereas are the same as read in the previous resolution. Robert James Livingston, Stephen Robert Livingston, Stacy Renee Chiloff, Jenna Renee Livingston. Now therefore be it resolved by the legislature of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation that a resolution enrolling the above named persons as members of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation who have by virtue of their written request for enrollment agreed to the obligations of such membership and consented to the authority and jurisdiction of the government of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation are now entitled to all benefits and privileges of the citizenship in the Citizen Potawatomi Nation as described by law and tribal custom is hereby approved.
Is there discussion? The chair would entertain a motion. Representative Eva Marie Carney.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a comment that the sister of Luava, Jean Livingston, who is one of the reasons that Robert can enroll, is one of the most active members in District 2, and her family attends every event that I have and travel long distances, and they're just really delightful. So I was happy to see this documentation.
Great.
They're really a terrific family. Yep. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? The chair would entertain a motion to approve the resolution as read. Motion made by Representative Eva Marie Carney. Is there a second? By Representative Mark Johnson. Roll call, please.
Chairman Barrett,
Konigay.
Vice Chairman Capps,
Contact.
Secretary Treasurer Trousdale, Konigay, Representative Slavin,
Okay.
Representative Eva Marie Carney,
Conagay.
Representative Whistler,
Conagay.
Representative Bursall,
Konigay.
Representative Lambert,
Konagay.
Representative Payne,
Conagay.
Representative Johnson,
Konigay.
Representative Dave Carney.
Hoonigan.
Representative Kraft.
Hoonigan.
Representative Spindlecoffer.
Hoonigan.
Representative Barrett.
Congate.
14 in favor, 2 absent.
14 in favor, 2 absent. It is approved. Next is Resolution 1466, Legislative Committee on Enrollment. If you could read that into the record, please, Secretary Treasurer Trousdale.
Resolution 14-66-LCOE, a resolution of enrollment into the membership of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. First 4 whereas are the same as read in the previous resolution. Richard Edward McMillan. Now therefore be resolved by the legislature of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation that a resolution enrolling the above named persons as member of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation who have, by virtue of their written request for enrollment, agreed to the obligations of such membership and consented to the authority and jurisdiction of the government of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation, and are now entitled to all benefits and privileges of the citizenship in the Citizen Potawatomi Nation as described by law and tribal custom is hereby approved.
This one has an unusual story. If I can get us back to the main camera. Grace Louise Nichols was abducted by Thomas Watkins' family, Theresa LaFrambeau's first husband, in 1846 in St. Mary's. She would have been eligible for an allotment if not for the abductions. Her descendants would have been eligible for the 37 census. So we're out how many generations?
Well, Richard was born in 1932, so we're looking at out 3 generations. The birth certificates and death certificates go so far, but when it comes to Louisa, as far as finding out if Louisa was really Teresa LaFrambeau's daughter, I mean, I could only find that through allotment records and through that letter that I did pass along saying about the abduction. But, no, I mean, I'm satisfied with the tendency and the research he did. Now, I had to go in and do a little bit myself to, because I always like to have a second source if possible to confirm that. But apparently, well, this was Teresa's first husband, first of 3, and they had 3 children, and one of them was Grace, and apparently the grandfather just rode into town one day and just took her, not by force, but just say, "Hi, I'm your grandfather," and just took her. But I found Grace's name in a lot of allotment records. When the airship went up for a parchment of land, her name was always been listed as an airship. So that convinced me that that she was part of this family. But we're out 3 generations. Richard understands that this is a long shot. This was a couple years ago after he retired. He and his wife started doing some genealogy research and had an idea of his Indian background. This is his final thing.
Well,
And I told him that I would apply, but he also understands that this is a long shot.
well, it's been the policy that we've enrolled it at a single skip generation, but this is 100 and something years back. And we're not absolutely certain of it, are we?
Well, I mean, like I said, the birth certificate and death certificate, they go back so far, but from the research that I've done to you guys, I mean, I don't have any reason to doubt the connection, the genealogy connection. I understand that sometimes you're not going to be able to get a birth certificate or a death certificate.
Yeah, Was Theresa allotted down here?
Pardon?
Was Theresa allotted down here in Oklahoma?
Teresa had TP 385.
So she was allotted here.
Yeah, Teresa was allotted.
So this would have been Theresa's grandchild, great-grandchild.
Great-grandson. But
Charles,
no, Louisa would have been the mother, and then Grace would have been the grandson. But then there's Esbert, which is Richard's father, so we're 1, 2, 3, 4 generations out.
How many
Charles.
children?
yeah, does he have children and grandchildren?
I did not ask if he had any, but
See, that's one thing you have to consider, is whenever he can enroll, then sometimes a whole lot of people can enroll.
well,
Especially 3 generations back, because you get if you're going back 3 generations, you're going to get his brothers and sisters and their 3 generations. I mean, we could be making 150 people eligible here.
that's true.
But it is what it is. I guess the lineage is provable. But that is certainly a departure from the enrollment procedure in the past.
A big departure.
A big departure.
Yeah.
What's
I mean, this is-
what's the Constitution
Some
say?
of my days.
Is it a departure, or is it just not come up before?
No, the Constitution says that we can depart at will.
And I also know that back then to be eligible for the 1937 census, you either had to have a parent or a grandparent that had an allotment.
And Teresa had an allotment.
And Teresa did have an allotment. Yeah,
But-
CP
but-
385.
But she was the great-grandchild?
Well, she is Richard's great-great-grandmother,
And what is Richard's date of birth?
1932.
Anybody have opinions on this?
All I know is
Rip.
that it took a lot of research even on my heritage going back. And this would be going back to the 4th generation. And the paperwork on even who the husband was and who the daughter was is, you know, it's very difficult to verify, I think, 100%.
Charles, where does this gentleman live?
I believe he lives out in California.
Well, the exception
Wait a
to,
minute, he lives in Region 8, so, well, it would be one of the western states.
yeah, the exception to the members of the tribe who were enrolled or entitled to be enrolled on the 37 roll, and each child since then. So Teresa she died when?
I couldn't say that.
Has this gentleman contacted Dave Carney?
No.
I
don't think so.
yeah, I mean, we have skipped back to the 37 row, but we've never skipped back past the 37 row ever in my 30 years. I mean, we've had people who were on the 37 row and enrolled their grandchildren. In some cases, their great-grandchildren, but we've never gone backwards past the 37 row.
I totally was wrong.
there's some doubt.
I mean, I submitted all the paperwork that they had given me.
Yeah. Representative Whistler?
Chairman, we've skipped a generation in the past. My greatest concern, and it's unfortunate this gentleman's so far back, is I'm thinking about if we make this exception, we have really opened the door to a lot of other people that may be anywhere from 2 to 4 generations, being skipped, coming to us to be included in the future. I just see it as potentially creating too much of a workload in the future in trying to determine who's eligible and who isn't. I just think we're making too great an exception here.
I'd have to agree with you, Representative Whistler, because if you go back that many generations, I think you're going to pick up most of the Prairie Band, aren't you?
Yes.
Anybody else have some thoughts on it? Representative Bursall, did I see your hand?
Your comment about the Prairie Band, how would they be?
Well, Theresa
You mean-
Theresa Peltier was a Kansas Allottee, as well as a Citizen Potawatomi Allottee. So if you go back to the Kansas Allottees, Theresa
They
Peltier.
did. Yeah, but the Prairie Band did not take the allotments.
Right, but Theresa Peltier would have been eligible to go either way, Prairie Band or Citizen Band. And if she's who I believe she is, would have been Alexander's mother. Would have been Alexander the first sister. I don't know. Maybe not the Prairie Band. They would not have been Kansas Allottees with it. But 3 generations back, we're going to pick up a bunch if we go that far back. It's going to be a lot of people. Say again. Any other discussion? Representative Eva Marie Carney.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, no, not only do I agree with that, but I'm also just not particularly comfortable with resting something on this kidnapping story. I think it's a really great attempt here to document heritage, but I don't feel that the package of evidence is enough for me anyway. So I would vote no.
Representative Bursall.
Maybe it was earlier discussion. Why has he waited so long?
After he retired, him and his wife just kind of decided to go back and start studying their genealogy.
Do you really want? All right. Any other discussion? Chair would entertain a motion to approve the resolution as read. Motion made by Representative Whistler. Is there a second? The motion dies for lack of a second. So we go on to resolution or ordinance 1402, JNPS T12. If you could read that into the record, please, Secretary Treasurer Trausen.
Ordinance 14-02-JNPS-14-02-T12. An ordinance amending the Title 12, Chapter 1, Section 121, shoplifting of the Tribal Code of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. Whereas the Tribal Code of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation requires updating from time to time in order to remain responsive to current needs, now therefore be it ordained by the legislature of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation that Title 12 shoplifting of the Tribal Code of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation is hereby amended as follows. The following shall be added as Section 12-1-121 of Title 12 of Tribal Code of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation to clarify the definition of shoplifting. Section 12-1-121 shoplifting. A. It is unlawful for any person to wrongfully take merchandise, any means including, but not limited to, concealment or attempted concealment in any manner either on or off the place of business of the merchant with a purpose to deprive the merchant of merchandise or to avoid payment of merchandise. B. Wrongful taking of merchandise as used in this section is defined as taking of merchandise that has not been purchased from a merchant's place of business without the permission of the merchant, employees, or agents. C. A person who knowingly conceals unpurchased merchandise on his or her person or concealed in any manner that is offered for sale by any store or business establishment gives rise to a presumption that the person took the merchandise with the purpose of depriving the merchant or another individual having an interest in the merchandise. D. A person engaging in conduct giving rise to a presumption under Section 12-1-121C of the Tribal Codes of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation may be detained in a reasonable manner for a reasonable length of time by a law enforcement officer, merchant, or merchant's employee in order that recovery of merchandise may be effected. E. The detention by a law enforcement officer, merchant, or merchant's employee does not render the law enforcement officer, merchant, or merchant's employee criminally or civilly liable for false arrest, false imprisonment, or unlawful detention. F. Any detention under this provision shall be made only in a reasonable manner and only for a reasonable period of time sufficient for any inquiry into the circumstances for the recovery of said merchandise. G. This section shall be punishable by fine up to $3,000 or imprisonment up to 1 year or both. Now therefore be it enacted by the legislature of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation that an ordinance amending Title 12 shoplifting of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation Tribal Code is hereby approved. The effective date of this ordinance shall become effective upon adoption by the legislature of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation.
Is there discussion? Chairman, entertain a motion to Representative Whistler.
Yes, sir. Chairman, I have two questions. One, is this consistent with what the punishment would be in the state of Oklahoma? Are we simply copying what they have on the books for shoplifting if it were to, say, take place in Oklahoma City?
I believe so.
Okay,
I think the reason that
my second question.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The reason that they wanted to go to this higher number with judge's discretion as to how it's set is we will have businesses with concealable merchandise that are valued at over $1,500 pretty quickly. So this is in anticipation of the Hearth Act leases. And
Okay.
the problem that we do have a really bad shoplifting problem in the grocery store in particular, that we don't seem to have any deterrent for. We cannot prosecute non-Indians, so this law would apply to Native Americans only. But we have a probably 1% shrinkage at the grocery store, which is a big number. I mean, it's well into the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right. You answered my second question, because my second question was, is it applicable to non-Indians? Because I thought it probably wasn't. But no, I think it's very appropriate. It's just that I was curious who was applicable to, and if we were consistent with what the situation would be by the courts with a non-Indian. Would they be facing the same thing in the regular court?
Well,
or don't we know?
Yeah, I think one of the things that they're doing with this code, and this doesn't say criminal code, is I think that we can fine a non-Indian under the civil code as a civil action. And I don't see this as, I believe a non-Indian, we couldn't put him in jail, but I believe we could hit him with a civil penalty. So I believe that's going to include non-Indians.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes, Representative Kraft.
minors?
No.
Minor shouldn't be done,
No, we couldn't prosecute a,
or parent?
yeah, we wouldn't have, you can't, we conceivably could prosecute them, but our juvenile code gives the judge discretion to, I guess at some point a judge could prosecute a minor with a fine, but I couldn't jail them. We can't detain minors at all, matter of fact. But we have to hold them to parental custody, but we can't jail a minor under our statutes at all.
What the demographics of the shoppers? Do you have any idea of who's dealing what?
Well, we've had a rash of, unfortunately, we've had a rash of running the store at 3 o'clock in the morning, and grab a case of beer, and run out and jump in your car and drive off.
That's what they're doing in the city.
That's what they do in Oklahoma City, and it's happening here too. And whether that's minors or not minors, it's kind of hard to tell. The camera work, our security cameras show them as someone fast enough to run out the door with a case of beer faster than we can stop them.
That's an old man, then.
It's not old guys. That's a fact. So we have had a rash of it at the grocery store. I mean, it's probably daily. We did stop one of the worst instances of it. You know, we were stopping people and making them present a ticket for the groceries they had in the basket. And we caught someone on tape buying a basket full of groceries, of several sacks, going back outside, dumping the groceries in their car, bringing the ticket and the sacks back in, refilling it with the same merchandise, and going out the door. Just getting us twice with the same purchase ticket. And if we hadn't had the surveillance tape, we really couldn't have detained them. Because everything on the ticket matched what was in the basket. But it was just their second trip. And if we hadn't seen them putting it in the bag on the surveillance tip in the aisles, we couldn't have caught it. They actually bagged it while they were going down the aisles. But we don't know what our losses are at that level. We do know we have at least a 1% shrinkage number, and by the month, that's a big number for us. Is there any other comment? Chair would entertain a motion to approve the ordinance change as read. Motion by Representative Whistler. Is there a second? Representative David Barrett is the second. Roll call, please.
Chairman Barrett,
Koenig.
Vice Chairman Capps,
Conagay.
Secretary Treasurer Trousdale, Koenig, Representative Slavin,
Koenig.
Representative Eva Marie Carney,
Koenig.
Representative Whistler,
Koenig.
Representative Bersall,
Conagay.
Representative Lambert,
Conagay.
Representative Payne,
Koenig.
Representative Johnson,
Conagay.
Representative Dave Carney,
Koenig.
Representative Kraft,
Koenig.
Representative Spindlecoffer,
Koenig.
Representative Barrett.
Koenig.
14 in favor, 2 absent.
14 in favor, 2 absent. The next is ordinance 1403, JNPS T13. If you could read that into the record, please, Secretary Treasurer Trousdale.
Ordinance 14-03-JNPS-14-03-T13. An ordinance amending Title 13, Chapter 1, Section 101, Family Relations of the Tribal Code of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. Whereas the Tribal Code of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation requires updating from time to time in order to remain responsive to current needs, now therefore be it ordained by the legislature of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation that Title 13, Domestic Relations and Support of the Tribal Code of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation is hereby amended as follows. Section 13-1-101, Tribal Custom, Marriage, and Divorce. D. Marriage in the tribal custom of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation shall consist only of the union of one man and one woman. Nothing in the tribal code of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation or any other provision of the tribal law shall be construed to require that marital status or the legal incidence thereof be conferred upon married couples or groups, which is deleted and replaced with, except by statute and action of the tribal court upon unmarried couples or groups. E, this has been deleted in its entirety. A marriage between persons of the same gender performed in another jurisdiction shall not be recognized as valid and binding in the Citizen Potawatomi Nation as of the date of the marriage. Section 13-1-106, marriage defined. Marriage is an institution recognized by legal authorities whereby, and this is deleted, a man and a woman, replaced with two people, join themselves into a special kind of social and legal independence for the purpose of founding and maintaining a family. The marriage relation will be inserted, and contract shall only be entered into, maintained, or abrogated as provided by law. Section 13-1-107, who may marry. Any unmarried person of age of 18 years or older is capable of contracting and consenting to marriage with, this is deleted, a person of the opposite sex and replaced with another person unless disqualified by consanguinity as hereafter defined. Now therefore be it enacted by the legislature of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation that an ordinance amending Title 13, Domestic Relations and Support of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation Tribal Code is hereby approved. Effective date, this ordinance shall become effective upon adoption by the legislature of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation.
Discussion? Chair would entertain a motion to approve the ordinance as amended. Motion made by Representative Dave Carney, seconded by Representative Eva Marie Carney. Roll call, please.
Chairman Barrett.
Koenig.
Vice Chairman Capps.
Abstain.
Secretary Treasurer Trousdale abstains. Representative Slavin. Representative Eva Marie Carney.
Koenig.
Representative Whistler.
Abstain.
Representative Bersall.
Abstain.
Representative Lambert.
Koenig.
Representative Payne.
Abstain.
Representative Johnson.
Abstain.
Representative Dave Carney.
Koenig.
Representative Kraft.
Joe?
Representative Smiddlecoffer.
Koenig.
Representative Barrett.
Joe?
Six in favor, 2 against, 6 abstentions, 2 absent.
The ordinance fails for lack of a majority. The next item on the agenda is ordinance 1404 RNG T23. If you could read that into the record, please, Secretary Treasurer Trousdale.
Ordinance 14-04-RNG-14-04-T23, an ordinance amending the gaming ordinance of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. Whereas the gaming ordinance of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation requires periodic updates in order to remain responsive to current needs and industry standards. Now therefore be enacted by the legislature of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation that an ordinance amending Title 23, Chapter 3, Gaming Ordinance of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation Tribal Code as attached is hereby approved. Now therefore be ordained by the legislature of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation that the gaming ordinance of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation is hereby amended. Effective date, this ordinance shall become effective upon adoption by the legislature of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation.
Do we have a red line of the changes from the previous ordinance?
I do not. Yes, there is.
I have it on my desk, the red line.
Can you get the red line? No, let her get it for you. We'll have the red line for you here in a second.
Chairman, can I ask a question?
Certainly.
On this ordinance, the new ordinance, was it due to something that we challenged on, that we had to improve, or it just
Housekeeping. It's basically to keep us current with the changes that the National Indian Gaming Commission
so
did.
there's not any area that we was exposed that we got in trouble for, or
Not-
needed to put more teeth into?
No, we've had no regulatory orders to change. I think this is a compliance issue, is that correct?
The NIGC changed part 556 and 558 related to licensing. This is verbiage what it was. It used to say things, we will be unable to hire you, locations will be unable to license you.
So the change was just basically in the, who could get a license and who couldn't?
It was some verbiage changes for licensing, and then there was some different cleanup here and there.
Okay.
Nothing to challenge.
Paul wants to know, who are the gaming commissioners now?
Myself, Joe Miller, and Kelly Martelli.
Are there any questions concerning the ordinance? Okay, the chair would entertain a motion to approve the ordinance as amended. Motion made by Representative Mark Johnson. Is there a second?
Chairman, I'll second it.
Seconded by Representative David Barrett. Roll call, please.
Chairman Barrett,
Konigay.
Vice Chairman Capps,
Carnegie.
Secretary Treasurer Trousdale, Konigay, Representative Slavin, Representative Eve Marie Carney,
Carnegie.
Representative Whistler,
Carnegie.
Representative Bersall,
Carnegie,
Representative Lambert,
Carnegie.
Representative Payne,
Carnegie.
Representative Johnson,
Carnegie.
Representative Dave Carney,
Carnegie.
Representative Kraft, Representative Spindlecoffer,
Carnegie.
Representative Barrett,
Carnegie.
14 in favor, 2 absent.
14 in favor, 2 absent. It is approved. Next is ordinance 1405, JPNS T23. If you could read that into the record, please.
Ordinance 14-05-JNPS-14-05-T23, an ordinance establishing the Innkeepers' Rights Act of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. Whereas the Citizen Potawatomi Nation has the authority to regulate and enforce laws on tribal property, and whereas the following shall be added as Chapter 4 of the Title 23 of the Tribal Code of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation, hereafter known as the Innkeepers' Rights Act. Section 23-1-101, Scope, Citizen Potawatomi Nation's Innkeepers' Rights Act, is written to be consistent with the laws of the state where the lodging establishment sets, with the exception that any action or proceeding seeking to enforce any provision of said act or based on any right arising out of this act shall be brought against any of the parties only in the courts of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation, and each of the parties hereto consents to the exclusive jurisdiction of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation District Court and the appropriate appellate courts. In each such proceeding, waives any objection to venue laid therein and agrees not to plead or claim any such course that proceedings brought therein has brought in any inconvenient forum. Section 23-1-102 definitions. A, as used in the Citizen Potawatomi Nation's Innkeepers' Rights Act. 1. Innkeeper shall mean the owner, operator, manager, or keeper of a lodging establishment. 2. Lodging establishment shall mean a hotel, resort, villa, motel, condominium, inn, tourist court, campground, bed and breakfast, boarding house, furnished apartment, house, or any place in which rooms, lodging, or sleeping accommodations are furnished for pay to guests for transient occupancy. 3. Minor shall mean an emancipated person under the age of 18 years. Section 23-1-103 Rights and Responsibilities. An innkeeper shall have the right to refuse or deny any accommodation, facilities, or privileges of a lodging establishment to any person who is unwilling or unable to pay for accommodations and services of the lodging establishment. The innkeeper shall have the right to require the prospective guest to demonstrate the ability to pay by cash, valid credit card, or valid check. B. The innkeeper may request a guest, parent, or of a minor or other responsible party to 1. Accept in writing liability of the guest room costs, taxes, all charges by a minor, and any damages to the guest room or its furnishing caused by the guest or minor while a guest at the lodging establishment. And 2. Provide the innkeeper with a valid credit card number to cover the guest room costs, taxes, any charges or damages to the guest room or its furnishings caused by the guest or a minor while a guest. Or 3. Give the innkeeper A. an advanced cash payment to cover the guest room and taxes for all room nights reserved for the guest or minor guest, and B. a cash deposit towards the payment of any charges by the guest or minor or any damages to the guest room or its furnishings, which cash deposit will be refunded to the extent not used to cover any charges or damages as determined by the innkeeper following room inspection at checkout. C. A lodging establishment shall have the right to limit the number of persons who shall occupy any particular guest room in the lodging establishment. D. An innkeeper refusing or denying accommodations, facilities, or privileges of a lodging establishment for any of the reasons specified in this section shall not be liable in any civil or criminal action or for any fine or penalty based upon the refusal or denial, except that accommodation, facilities, or privileges or lodging establishment shall not be refused or denied based upon race, creed, color, national origin, sex, disability, or mental status of a person. Section 23-1-104 Liability. A. In an action involving damage to a lodging establishment room or its furnishing, the court may order the person who rented the lodging establishment room, the person who caused the damage to the lodging establishment room, to the parent of the minor or the responsible party to do the following. 1. Pay restitution for damages suffered by the owner or operator of the lodging establishment, which damages may include loss of revenue suffered by the lodging establishment resulting from the inability of the innkeeper to rent or lease the room during the period of time the lodging establishment is being repaired, and 2. Pay damages or restitution to any other person who is injured or shows property as damages. Shoes are exempt. The parents or other responsible parties shall be liable for acts of a minor violation of this section which causes damages to the lodging establishment room or furnishing to cause injury to persons on the lodging establishment property. Section 23-1-105 Ejection of guests. Innkeepers may eject a guest for any of the following reasons and keep the room rental payment. 1. Non-payment. 2. Disorderly conduct or the person is visibly intoxicated, creating a public nuisance. 3. Using the premises for an unlawful act, including unlawful use of possessions of controlled substances by a person in violation of tribal, federal, or state laws, or the use of premises for the consumption of beer, wine, or alcoholic liquors by a person under the age of 21 in violation of tribal, federal, and state laws. 4. Bringing property that may be dangerous to others onto the premises. 5. Failing to register as a guest. 6. Using false pretenses to obtain accommodation. 7. Being a minor unoccupied by an adult registered guest. 8. Exceeding the posted guest room occupancy limit. 9. Violating tribal, federal, state, or local lodging establishment law or regulations. Or 10. Violating the establishment's posted rules. Section 23-1-106 Posting Innkeepers' Rights Act and Rules of the Establishment. The innkeeper shall post a copy of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation's Innkeepers' Rights Act together with all rules of the lodging establishment in a conspicuous place or at or near the guest registration desk. Section 23-1-107 Preclusions. Nothing in this act prohibits an innkeeper from denying accommodations to a guest or ejecting a guest for any valid, non-discriminatory reason not otherwise provided herein. Now therefore be it ordained by the legislature of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation that an ordinance establishing Title 23, Chapter 4, Innkeepers' Rights Act of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation is hereby approved. Effective date, this ordinance shall become effective upon adoption by the legislature of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation.
Is there discussion? Representative Payne?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I just need to apologize to everybody. I scheduled a meeting with the lender this evening thinking that we would be done by now. I hate to do this, but I need to duck out and get to that meeting.
Okay. Should we go ahead and record your vote on this motion? Would you be in favor of it? Okay. Thank
Yes,
you.
Congregate.
We'll see you later. Representative Whistler?
Yes, Chairman, I have two questions. Under Section 23-1-105, ejection of guests, item number 3, where it talks about use of alcohol with the age of 21, I was under the impression that legal age in Oklahoma was 18. Am I wrong?
It's 21. Well,
Okay.
I don't know if it's 18 or not. It's 21 in Oklahoma, yeah.
Okay. I kept thinking it was 18, but I just thought I would ask the question. The other thing is, when we're talking about liabilities, what liability do we have if we're overbooked and cannot accommodate the people?
None.
Or does that fall into a totally different area?
Yeah, we really don't have a guarantee under a reservation unless they prepaid. And if they prepaid, well, then I think we're obligated to either furnish them a room or refund the money.
Okay. But nothing beyond that?
No.
All right, thank you.
You bet. Any other questions? Chair would entertain a motion to approve this resolution for this ordinance as amended. Motion by Representative Lambert, second by Representative Dave Carney. Roll call, please.
Chairman Barrett,
Koenig?
Vice Chairman Capps,
Donaghy.
Secretary Treasurer Trousdale, Koenig, Representative Slavin,
Okay.
Representative Eva Marie Carney,
Okay.
Representative Whistler,
Conagay.
Representative Bursaw,
Conagay?
Representative Lambert,
Koenig,
Jamie?
Representative Johnson,
Conagay?
Representative Dave Carney,
Conagay.
Can you catch this?
Representative Kraft, Representative Spindlecoffer,
Conagay.
Representative Barrett,
Okay.
14 in favor, 2 absent.
14 in favor, 2 absent. It is approved. Something I might want to put in, the amendments to the gaming ordinance, if I'm not correct, did relieve us of the inability of the members of the legislature to game. It's the executive branch that cannot game, if I'm correct. So the new ordinance allows the members of the legislative body to game, but not the executive branch. Is that correct? Okay. So whenever you guys come back, we'll bring a sack full of money. Representative Eva Marie Carney.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to just raise a point of order. Can you just clarify for us the significance of an abstention? I was looking in our ordinance to see if there's anything that's relevant to that, and looking at Robert's Rules of Order, which I know we have not adopted in full, but under those rules, as I'm looking at it, that ordinance would have passed. Because I thought we had a 6-2 vote. You don't count the abstentions.
Within a 14 vote potential, would 6 6 carry, or are you saying that the abstentions simply don't count? 6 is a majority if the extensions are exempted. I think
That's
before
what I'm reading in Robert's
yeah, I think
rules.
before I would rule that way, I would provide any of the exemptions the opportunity to vote no of those that abstained. So if I could get a motion to reconsider that ordinance, I would entertain that motion. Do you do so?
I would make that motion.
Is there a
Yes,
second?
I would make that.
Is there a second to reconsider the motion? Representative Dave Carney seconds the motion. The motion to, let's see, motion to reconsider would be the first vote, right? And then once the motion to reconsider is voted upon, then we will reconsider the ordinance. Randy Payne is gone, so we have a 13 person.
He abstained.
He abstained. So there's a motion on the floor to reconsider. Roll call, please.
Chairman Barrett,
Koenig.
Vice Chairman Capps,
Cho.
Secretary Treasurer Trousdale, Cho. Representative Slavin,
Okay.
Representative Eva Marie Carney,
Koenig.
Representative Whistler,
Cho.
Representative Bersall,
Carnegie.
Representative Lambert,
Koenig,
Representative Johnson,
Carnegie.
Representative Dave Carney,
Carnegie.
Representative Kraft,
Cho.
Representative Schmidelkoffer,
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
This is just to reconsider it?
this is to reconsider.
Okay.
Representative Barrett,
Cho.
eight in favor, 5 against.
Motion to reconsider passes 8 in favor, 5 opposed. The bill is brought back to the floor. The chair entertain a motion to approve the bill as read, or the ordinance as amended. Motion made by Representative Eva Marie Carney, seconded by Representative Dave Carney. Roll call, please.
Chairman Barrett,
Koenig.
Vice Chairman Capps,
Abstain.
Secretary Treasurer Trousdale, Cho. Representative Slavin,
Okay.
Representative Eva Marie Carney. I'm sorry, Eva Marie Carney.
Koenig.
Representative Whistler,
Cho.
Representative Bersall,
Cho.
Representative Lambert,
Koenig,
Representative Johnson,
Show.
Representative Dave Carney,
Carnegie.
Representative Kraft,
Cho.
Representative Schmidelkoffer,
Okay.
Representative Barrett.
Cho.
6 in favor, 6 against, 3 absent, 1 abstention.
The motion fails. Motion fails for lack of a majority. Is that correct? I believe that because we're working with a 13, we had an abstention, so we'd have 12, so we had 6-6. Okay. The ordinance amendment fails. Next item on the agenda is ordinance 1406, APP T44, Appropriations Committee of the Whole.
Ordinance 14-06-APP-14-06-T44. An ordinance regulating the use of tribal resources in preparation of city and state sales tax reports. Whereas the Citizen Potawatomi Nation is a federally recognized tribe of North American Indians reorganized pursuant to the Oklahoma Indian Welfare Act of June 26, 1936, with a history of self-government that begins long before the creation of the United States of America and the state of Oklahoma. And whereas the federal government of the United States of America has recognized the Citizen Potawatomi Nation as a dependent sovereign with the powers and authority to govern its resources as well as the activities that take place on its trust lands in a manner consistent with federal law and regulation. Whereas the Hearth Act of 2012 was enacted by Congress of the United States and signed into law by the President of the United States. Whereas the Secretary of Interior have promulgated regulations pursuant to Hearth Act of 2012 and related statutes concerning business activities. And whereas the Department of Interior Bureau of Indian Affairs, in revising and updating 25 CFR Part 162, has declared the federal statutes and regulations governing leasing on Indian lands, as well as related statutes and regulations concerning business activities, including leases by Indian traders, occupy and preempt the field of Indian leasing. The federal statutory scheme for Indian leasing is comprehensive and accordingly precludes state taxation. In addition, the federal regulatory scheme is pervasive and leaves no room for state law. Whereas the Department of Interior Bureau of Indian Affairs, in revising and updating 25 CFR Part 162, has also declared the purposes of business leasing on Indian lands are to promote and to allow Indian landowners to use their land profitably for economic development, ultimately contributing to tribal well-being and self-government. The legislative history of Section 415 demonstrates that Congress intended to maximize income to Indian landowners and encourage all types of economic development on Indian lands. Whereas the Department of Interior Bureau of Indian Affairs, in revising and updating 25 CFR Part 162, has further declared another important aspect of tribal sovereignty and self-governance is taxation. The Supreme Court has recognized that the power to tax is an essential government and territorial management. State and local taxation of improvements activities conducted by the leasee and the leasehold interest also has the potential to increase project cost. Increased project costs can impede a tribe's ability to attract non-Indian investment to Indian lands, where such investment and participation are critical to the vitality of tribal economies. An increase in project cost is especially damaging to economic development on Indian lands, given the difficulty Indian tribes and individuals face in securing access to capital. Accordingly, the very possibility of an additional state or local tax has a chilling effect on potential leasees, as well as the tribe that as a result might refrain from exercising its own sovereign right to impose a tribal tax to support its infrastructure needs. Such dual taxation can make some project less economically attractive, further discouraging development in Indian country. 162.017a, subject only to applicable federal law, permanent improvements on trust or restricted land are not taxable by states or localities, regardless of who owns the improvements. State and local taxation of improvements undermine federal and tribal regulation of improvements. 162.017b, subject only to applicable federal law, activities conducted under a lease of trust or restricted land that occur on leased premises are not taxable by state or localities, regardless of who conducts the activities. Now therefore be it ordained by the legislature of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation that an ordinance establishing Title 44, Chapter 3, Section 107 of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation Tribal Code as follows is hereby approved. Section 44-3-107, State and Local Government Sales Tax on Trust Lands. The Citizen Potawatomi Nation Tax Commission is the taxing authority with tax jurisdiction on the trust lands of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. All sales tax occurring on trust lands of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation are hereby exempt from state, county, and municipal taxation, and that no tribal resources are to be used to assist state or local governments in the collection of any state or local tax. No tribal employee or elected tribal official shall use or expend tribal resources to gather, assemble, or maintain information, report, collect, or assist the state or local governments in the collection of any state or local tax. Effective date, this ordinance shall become effective upon adoption by the legislature of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation.
City of Shawnee adopted resolution, or their ordinance 2525, which made it a criminal violation to fail to report taxes, to file the report or to pay. And in the 1991 dicta in Citizen Potawatomi versus Oklahoma Tax Commission, Chief Justice Rehnquist suggested that one of the remedies the state had not explored was the prosecution of tribal officials or the operators of tribal businesses. This ordinance will serve to provide relief to an elected official in the event that the state should attempt to prosecute an elected official for the failure to comply with what is an unconstitutional and illegal city ordinance, and is a scheme by the Oklahoma Tax Commission to use the city to take the risk to try to collect a tax that they're not entitled to. So we had a conversation with the district attorney, who is going to advise the city police chief of the city of Shawnee that if they choose to enforce this ordinance against an elected official or executive officer of the tribe, that the district attorney will not prosecute it. The city police are there by virtue of a city charter. The officers of the court are the sheriff's department, and the tribal police are cross-deputized sheriff's officers, and they have, that is not, including me, which is not within the jurisdiction. The city can't or should not use this as a way to collect. Also, the city went on and named the members of the Albuquerque law firm that they hired to pursue a lawsuit against the tribe to collect taxes, named them as the agents for collection on their Oklahoma Tax Commission agreement. And I believe they have, I think they have an ethics issue in that they're using the threat of a criminal violation to collect a civil fine or fee or assess tax. So this is basically to give an elected official, the right to claim that the court of competent jurisdiction would not allow them to pay or collect or report the tax. I think let's go into. I'd like to motion or declare that we're going into executive session for discussion on this. Let me get with Chris. Can you take this off?